A kind black waitress gave away her lunch to a hungry man, but she had no idea that he was a Korean Mafia boss who would change both their lives forever. The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner flickered at 2:47 a.m., casting shadows across cracked vinyl booths and a counter that had seen better decades. Sansa Williams stood behind that counter, her third double shift this week, feet aching in shoes held together with duct tape and determination. She was 26, beautiful in a way that made men stare, and women either befriend or hate her. High cheekbones, natural hair pulled into a neat bun, eyes that held both exhaustion and something fiercer. Hope, maybe, or stubbornness. Outside, Los Angeles rain hammered the pavement. Inside, the graveyard shift crowd was sparse. A couple of truckers, a prostitute named Diamond counting her money in the corner booth, and old man Chen who came every night at 3 a.m. for coffee he never finished. Sansa wiped down the counter for the 100th time, the motion automatic, meditative. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her mother. Rent's due in 3 days. You got your half? Sansa looked at her bank app. 247.83. Her half of rent was 650. The lunch shift tips had been terrible. A church group that left prayer cards instead of money. A businessman who'd stiffed her entirely. Regulars who could barely afford their own meals, let alone tip generously. She had 3 days to make $400 appear from nowhere. Again. She pulled out the small glass container from her bag. Her dinner, prepared last night when she had the energy. Grilled chicken breast, brown rice, steamed vegetables, a small portion of kimchi she learned to make from a YouTube video. Bland, healthy, boring. But she was trying to lose the weight that made her mother sigh and Auntie's comment. Trying to be disciplined. Trying to transform herself into someone worthy of more than this diner, this neighborhood, this life. Sansa, honey, I'm heading out, called Rosie, the owner, a 50-something white woman who'd run this place for 30 years and treated her night staff like family. You good to lock up? I'm good, Rosie. Don't forget to eat that chicken. You've been skipping meals again. Rosie squeezed her shoulder. Can't take care of nobody if you don't take care of yourself first. Sansa nodded, said goodnight, and went back to her routine. Refill Chen's coffee. Check on Diamond. Wipe tables that were already clean. Count down the minutes until her shift ended at 6 a.m. and she could go home, sleep for 4 hours, then come back for the lunch rush. This was her life. Had been for 8 years, since she dropped out of community college when her father died, and the medical bills consumed everything. The diner's bell chimed. Sansa looked up and felt the air shift. The man who walked in was Korean, late 20s, and looked like he'd stepped out of a music video or a crime movie. Expensive black coat soaked from rain, dark hair pushed back from a face that was all sharp angles and intensity. Blood on his knuckles, a cut above his eyebrow, and eyes that scanned the diner like a predator assessing territory. Behind him, 2 other men entered, younger, harder, wearing the kind of casual menace that made Diamond slide lower in her booth, and the truckers suddenly find their coffee fascinating. The man in the middle, clearly the leader, walked to the counter where Sansa stood, and when their eyes met, something electric passed between them. Coffee, he said. His voice was deep, accent slight, commanding, despite the single word. Black, strong. Coming right up, Sansa poured, hands steady despite the tension radiating from him. You okay? You're bleeding. His eyes flicked to hers, surprised. I'm fine. First aid kit's in the back if you need it. She set the coffee down. On the house. Something shifted in his expression. Confusion, maybe, or interest. He wrapped both hands around the mug like he was cold, and Sansa noticed his knuckles were split open. Fresh blood still seeping. Bar fight probably, or worse. This was South Central LA at 3 a.m. Violence was as common as rain. You have food, he asked, pulling a menu from the holder. His 2 companions flanked him at the counter, silent, watchful. Sansa felt their eyes on her, assessing, judging. She'd learned to ignore that feeling years ago. Kitchen's technically closed, but I can make you the basics. Eggs, toast, hash browns. Got some meatloaf left from dinner service? Pie if you want something sweet. He studied the menu with an intensity that seemed excessive for a greasy spoon at 3 a.m. His jaw clenched. What about rice? Soup? Something lighter? We got white rice, can heat up some canned soup, chicken noodle, tomato, vegetable beef. No. Frustration edged his voice. Never mind. Just the coffee. He pushed the menu away, but Sansa saw something in his face. Not just hunger. Need. The kind of need she recognized from her father's last months when his body rejected everything except the blandest, most carefully prepared foods. You're on a restricted diet, she said quietly. It wasn't a question. His eyes snapped to hers, dangerous now. What? The way you're looking at that menu. My father had liver disease. Last year of his life, he could only eat specific things. Low sodium, low fat, high protein. Anything else made him sick. She leaned against the counter. What's your restriction? For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then quietly, ulcer, severe. Most food aggravates it. I need something plain. No spice, no grease, no acid, rice, steamed protein, maybe vegetables, nothing fried. His pride clearly hurt by the admission. Sansa understood pride, understood not wanting to show weakness. She made a decision that would change everything. Wait here. She went to the back room, grabbed her glass container from her bag, the chicken and rice she'd prepared so carefully that represented discipline and hope, and all her small efforts to be better. She stared at it for 5 seconds, thinking about her own hunger, the long shift ahead, the meals she'd already skipped this week. Then she thought about her father, how strangers had been kind in his last months, how a nurse had bought him Ensure when they couldn't afford it, how a neighbor had cooked him bland rice pudding every Sunday, how those small mercies had meant everything. She walked back out with the container. Here, she set it in front of him. Grilled chicken, brown rice, steamed broccoli, and carrots. No seasoning except a little pepper. There's kimchi on the side, but don't eat that if your stomach's bad. He looked at the container, then at her, clearly confused. I didn't order this. I know, it's mine, my dinner, but you need it more than I do. The two men flanking him exchanged glances. Their leader's expression went carefully blank. I can't take your food. Sure you can, I already ate. The lie came easily. She'd learned to be good at lying about hunger. Go ahead. How much? Nothing. It's already paid for. It was mine. She pushed the container closer. Eat before it gets cold. He studied her face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Then slowly, he opened the container. The steam rose, carrying the scent of simple, clean food. He picked up the plastic fork she'd included and took a bite. Then another. Then he was eating with focused intensity, like a man who hadn't had a decent meal in days. Sansa watched, satisfied in a way that had nothing to do with her own hunger. His men watched too, with expressions she couldn't quite read. When he finished, every grain of rice, every piece of chicken, he set down the fork and looked at her with something new in his eyes. Respect, curiosity, something deeper. What's your name? He asked. Sansa. Sansa. He said it carefully, like tasting the syllables. I'm Wu Jin, and that was the best meal I've had in a week. It was just chicken and rice. It was kindness. That's rarer than good food. He stood, pulled out his wallet, and placed $500 bills on the counter. For the coffee and the meal, Sansa stared at the money. $500. More than her weekly take-home. I can't. That's too much. Yes, you can. Consider it payment for something I needed desperately. His eyes held hers. And Sansa, don't give away your meals to strangers. Most people aren't worth it. Are you? His smile was slight, dangerous. No, probably not, but I remember debts. All of them. He turned to leave, his men following. At the door, he looked back. You work here every night? Most nights. Graveyard shift, 3 to 6. He nodded once, then disappeared into the rain. Sansa stood there, holding $500, confused and exhilarated, and somehow certain that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't begin to understand. Girl, Diamond called from her booth. Do you know who that was? Some guy with an ulcer? Diamond laughed, sharp and disbelieving. That was Wu Jin Baek, runs the Korean Mafia in L.A. That man you just fed? He's responsible for half the crime in the city. Ice flooded Sansa's veins. What? You gave your dinner to one of the most dangerous men in Los Angeles, baby girl. And he just gave you $500 like it was pocket change. Diamond shook her head. Lord, you're either blessed or cursed. Maybe both. Sansa looked at the money in her shaking hands, then at the empty container still on the counter. She'd fed a criminal. A mafia boss. Had seen blood on his knuckles and assumed bar fight when it was probably something much worse, much darker. But she also remembered the way he'd eaten. Grateful, hungry, human. The way he'd looked at her like she'd given him something precious instead of just basic food. The way he'd said her name. She put the money in her pocket. Rent was rent, morality was a luxury, and went back to work. But for the rest of her shift, she couldn't stop thinking about dark eyes and a voice that said, I remember debts. All of them. Woo Jin Beck sat in the back of his black Mercedes, rain streaming down the windows, his stomach finally quiet for the first time in days. His lieutenant, Ji Hoon, drove while his enforcer, Dai Jung, sat in the passenger seat. Neither spoke. They knew better than to interrupt when their boss was thinking. Background check, Woo Jin said quietly. Sansa Williams, I want everything. Employment history, family, debts, problems, everything. Yes, Young Nim, Ji Hoon responded. Should we? Nothing invasive, nothing that touches her directly, just information. And Ji Hoon? Make sure she's protected, discreetly. I don't want her hurt because she helped me. You think Lee's people saw you go in there? Woo Jin's jaw tightened. The fight tonight had been necessary. Lee Sang-min's crew pushing into their territory, dealing drugs near schools, ignoring every boundary. He'd sent a message with his fists and a knife, but Lee wasn't the type to forget, wasn't the type to let an insult slide. Assume they did. Assume they'll look for vulnerabilities. I want that diner watched, her apartment watched. If anyone from Lee's organization gets within 100 yards of her, I want to know immediately. Understood. Ji Hoon pulled up to Woo Jin's penthouse building in downtown LA. You want me to send medical records from Dr. Park to her so she knows what foods to avoid if she wants to help again? Woo Jin smiled slightly. Ji Hoon was good at his job for a reason. He thought ahead. Not yet. I'll handle that personally. You're going back. Yes. Hyung Nim, with respect, that's not safe. Lee knows you have an ulcer. He might use it against you. Having a regular location, a pattern, I know the risks. Woo Jin got out of the car, rain immediately soaking his coat. But Ji Hoon, that woman gave me her dinner. In 8 years of running this organization, no one has given me anything without expecting something back. She didn't know who I was, didn't want my money, just saw someone who needed help and helped. He looked back at his lieutenant. I'm going to figure out why. Upstairs in his minimalist penthouse, Woo Jin stripped off his bloody clothes and stood under a shower hot enough to steam the mirrors. The fight replayed in his mind. Lee's nephew pulling a knife. The sloppy slash that opened Woo Jin's eyebrow. The satisfying crack of breaking ribs when he'd retaliated. But underneath the violence, all he could think about was her face. Beautiful, yes. But it was more than that. The way she looked at him. Direct, unafraid, seeing past the expensive coat and the blood to whatever was underneath. The casual kindness of offering her own food. The lies she told to make the gift easier to accept. I already ate. Her stomach had probably been growling, but pride made her pretend otherwise. He understood pride, had worn it like armor his entire life. The son of poor immigrants who'd built an empire through intelligence and ruthlessness, who'd killed his first man at 21 to protect his father's legacy, who'd spent the last 7 years turning a small-time protection racket into a sophisticated criminal organization that controlled half of LA's underground economy. But that empire came with costs. The ulcer was one, stress eating through his stomach lining, making every meal an ordeal. The loneliness was another. He was 28 and had never had a relationship that wasn't transactional. Women wanted his money or his protection or the thrill of danger. None of them wanted him, except Sansa Williams hadn't wanted anything, had just given. His phone buzzed. Ji Hoon's text appeared. Preliminary info. Sansa Williams, 26, works 2 jobs, diner plus retail, supports mother and younger sister, father died 8 months ago, medical debt substantial, no criminal record, no connections to any organizations. Clean. Another text. Problem. Lee's people did see you at the diner. They're asking questions about the waitress. Woo. Jin's blood went cold. He typed back. How many watchers on the diner? 2 now. 4 in her building. Double our coverage. I want her protected 24/7. She doesn't know about this and she won't. Keep it invisible. Already done. Hyung Nim. Are you sure about this? Getting involved with a civilian? Woo! Jin stared at his phone, at the question that didn't have a good answer. Was he sure? No. This was dangerous and complicated and violated every rule he'd set for himself. But he remembered the taste of simple, clean food made with care. Remembered the way she'd looked at him like he was just a hungry man, not a monster. I'm not sure about anything, he texted back, but I'm doing it anyway. 3 nights later, Sansa's world began to shift in small, strange ways. First, there was the regular. Every night at 3 a.m., like clockwork, Woo Jin-baek walked into Rosie's diner, sat at the counter, and ordered coffee. Just coffee. He'd stay for an hour, drinking it slowly, watching her work with those intense dark eyes. You're not eating, Sansa observed on the second night, refilling his cup for the 3rd time. I ate before I came. Your hands are shaking. He looked at his hands, steady despite her observation. No, they're not. Fine. Your jaw's tight and you're holding your ribs like they hurt. You got in another fight and probably haven't eaten since lunch because pain kills appetite and you're too stubborn to admit you need help. She crossed her arms. Am I close? His expression shifted. Surprise, then something warmer. Uncomfortably close. Wait here. She went to the kitchen, used her own money to buy ingredients from the diner's stock, and cooked. 20 minutes later, she placed a bowl in front of him. Rice porridge with shredded chicken, mild and soothing, the kind her grandmother used to make when she was sick. Juk, he said softly, staring at the bowl. You made juk. Watch like 15 Korean cooking videos to get it right. It's probably not authentic, but it's plain enough for your stomach. She suddenly felt self-conscious. If you don't want it, I want it. He picked up the spoon, tasted, closed his eyes. It's perfect. How did you know to make this? Because when my dad was sick, bland food felt like giving up. But comfort food that happened to be bland? That felt like care. She wiped down the counter unnecessarily. So I figured if I learned some Korean recipes, you'd feel less like a sick person and more like someone being taken care of. If you came back, I mean. Which you did, obviously. She was rambling, nervous under his gaze. Woo, Jin smiled. A real smile that transformed his severe face into something almost gentle. You learned to cook Korean food for a stranger? For a customer with an ulcer who needs to eat. Sansa. The way he said her name made her skin tingle. Why? She thought about lying, about giving him some easy answer about customer service. Instead, truth spilled out. Because nobody should have to be hungry and in pain at the same time. And because you looked at me like I was a person, not a pretty face or a stereotype or a charity case. Just a person. Nobody's done that in a while. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. Want, maybe, or recognition. You are a person, a remarkable one. You don't know me. Then let me. He ate another spoonful of porridge. Have dinner with me. Somewhere nicer than this. Let me repay your kindness. You already paid me $500 for a chicken breast. That was for the food. This is for the company. He set down his spoon. I'm asking you on a date, Sansa. Say yes. Every rational part of her brain screamed no. He was dangerous. A criminal. The kind of man her mother had warned her about, who her father had crossed streets to avoid. But her heart, that traitorous thing that had been dormant for so long, whispered yes. One condition, she said. You tell me the truth about who you are, what you do, what I'm getting into. No lies, no sugarcoating. You already know what I am. Your friend told you. Diamond says a lot of things. I want to hear it from you. He nodded slowly. All right, tomorrow night. I'll pick you up after your shift. We'll go somewhere private, and I'll tell you everything. Then you can decide if you still want to know me. Okay. He finished his porridge, paid, another $100 for a $10 bowl, and left. Sansa stood there, heart racing, wondering what the hell she'd just agreed to. Diamond appeared at the counter. Please tell me you didn't just agree to date him. I agreed to hear him out. Baby girl, that man is dangerous, like bodies in the river dangerous. You can't. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're a good girl with a hero complex about to fall for a villain who'll break your heart or get you killed. Probably both. Sansa didn't have an answer, because Diamond was probably right. This was stupid and reckless and completely unlike her. She was the responsible one, the one who worked 2 jobs and paid bills and took care of everyone else. She didn't date criminals, didn't take risks, didn't let dangerous men with beautiful eyes and tragic smiles into her carefully controlled life. But God, she wanted to. The next evening, Sansa changed her clothes 3 times before settling on jeans and a simple green blouse. Nothing fancy, she didn't own fancy, but clean and put together. She told herself this wasn't a date, just a conversation, just getting information before making an informed decision. She was lying to herself and knew it. Whoop! Jin picked her up in a different car this time. Still expensive, but less conspicuous. A dark blue sedan that could blend into traffic. He wore black slacks and a gray sweater that clung to broad shoulders. Casual, human. Not at all like the blood-stained man from that first night. "Where are we going?" Sansa asked as he pulled into traffic. "My place. I promised privacy for this conversation." "Your place?" She raised an eyebrow. "You know that sounds like a line, right? If I wanted to seduce you, Sansa, I'd use better lines than come back to my place for a talk about organized crime." He glanced at her, amusement in his eyes. "Though for the record, I do want to seduce you. Eventually. When you know everything and still decide I'm worth the risk." Heat flooded her cheeks. "You're very direct. I told you, no lies. I want you. Have from the moment you gave me your dinner. But I also respect you too much to hide what I am." He turned onto a downtown street. "So tonight is honesty. All of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Then you choose." His building was one of those gleaming high-rises that charged more for a studio than Sansa made in 6 months. The doorman greeted Wu Jin by name. The elevator required a key card. Everything screamed money and power, and a world so far from hers they might as well be different species. The penthouse was unexpected. Sansa had imagined something ostentatious. Instead, it was minimalist, almost to the point of emptiness. Clean lines, neutral colors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. The only personal touches were books, shelves and shelves of them, and photographs on one wall. All of the same woman, Korean, beautiful, smiling. "Your wife?" Sansa asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. "My sister, Mint SEO. She died 3 years ago, ovarian cancer." His voice was flat, controlled. "She was the only person I've ever loved without condition." "I'm sorry." "So am I." He moved to the kitchen, which was all stainless steel and marble. "Tea or something stronger?" "Tea's fine." While he prepared it, green tea, traditional, with the kind of care that spoke of ritual, Sansa studied the photographs. Minseo in a hospital gown, bald from chemo but still smiling. Minseo in a wheelchair at what looked like a beach. Minseo surrounded by flowers on what must have been good days. "She was sick for 2 years, Wu Jin said, bringing over 2 cups. "Fought like hell. I used every resource I had. Flew in specialists from Korea, tried experimental treatments. Nothing worked." He handed her a cup, their fingers brushing. "She made me promise, at the end, that I'd try to be more than our father's legacy, that I'd find something beyond the organization, someone to care about as much as I cared for her. Have you?" "Not until recently." His eyes held hers. "Not until a waitress gave me her dinner and looked at me like I mattered." Sansa's breath caught. She sat on his minimalist couch, needing distance to think clearly. "Tell me about the organization. The truth." Wu Jin settled into a chair across from her, formal almost, like this was a business meeting. "My father came to America from Busan 30 years ago. No money, no connections, just determination and a willingness to do what was necessary. He started with a small protection racket in Koreatown, grew it systematically. By the time I was born, he controlled most of the Korean community's underground economy. When you say protection racket, I mean we charged businesses a fee to operate without problems. If they paid, they were safe. If they didn't, bad things happened. Insurance fires, vandalism, sometimes violence." His voice remained steady. "My father wasn't a good man, Sansa. He was ruthless and brutal and built his empire on fear. And you took over? When I was 21, he was killed by a rival gang. Lee family, the same one I'm fighting now. They ambushed him, shot him 6 times. I found him bleeding out in an alley behind a restaurant in Koreatown." His jaw clenched. "I held him while he died. His last words were, 'Don't let them take what's ours.' So you didn't choose this life. You inherited it. I chose to stay. That's on me." He took a sip of tea. "I could have walked away, gone legitimate, used the money father left to start over, But I was angry and young and wanted revenge. So I took over, consolidated power, expanded the organization beyond Koreatown. We control gambling, loan sharking, protection, some drug distribution, though I've been trying to get out of that. It's too dirty, hurts too many people. You have limits? Ethics? Sansa couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. No human trafficking, no deals with anyone involved in that. No targeting civilians who aren't part of the game. No working with people who hurt kids. His eyes hardened. I'm a criminal, Sansa. I won't pretend otherwise. But I have lines I won't cross. And the ulcer? That from the stress? Yes, and from being stabbed there 2 years ago. The blade nicked my stomach, caused internal bleeding, led to complications. The doctors say if I manage stress and diet, it'll heal eventually. But stress management isn't exactly compatible with running a criminal enterprise. Sansa processed all of this. He was being honest, brutally so. No attempt to soften or romanticize, just raw truth. Why tell me? Why not just, I don't know, lie? Pretend to be a legitimate businessman? Because you deserve the truth. And because if you're going to be part of my life, and I very much want you to be, you need to know what that means. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. It means danger. It means my enemies might try to use you against me. It means your life will change in ways you can't predict. It means being with someone who's killed people and will probably kill again. How many? The question escaped before Sansa could stop it. How many people have you killed? He didn't flinch. Personally, 7. Ordered killed. More. I don't keep count of those. They haunt me enough without knowing the exact number. They haunt you? Every night. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. I see their faces when I try to sleep. Wonder who they left behind. Wonder if they had sisters like Mincio, parents who mourned them, lives that mattered beyond being obstacles to me. He looked at her directly. I'm not a good person, Sansa. I do terrible things for power and money and pride. The only redemption I have is that I know I'm damned. The raw pain in his voice undid something in Sansa. This wasn't a monster. This was a man carrying the weight of his choices, who'd been honest about every terrible thing he'd done, who didn't ask for forgiveness because he knew he didn't deserve it. Why me? She asked. You could have anyone. Women with money, connections, who understand your world. Why pursue a broke waitress from South Central who gave you one chicken dinner? Because you're the first person in 8 years who's given me something without wanting something back. Because you looked at me and saw a hungry man instead of a useful connection. Because you made me jock when you barely have food for yourself. Because he stopped, struggling with words. Because when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be human instead of just useful. Sansa's throat tightened. She understood that feeling. The grinding weight of being useful to everyone, mother, sister, customers, boss, while never being valued for herself. The exhaustion of performing gratitude while drowning. The desperate hunger for someone to see past her function to her person. I'm scared, she admitted. Of you, of this, of what happens if I say yes and it all falls apart. Then say no. Wu Jin's voice was gentle. Walk away right now. I'll never contact you again. You'll be safe, protected from a distance until the Lee family forgets about you, and then your life goes back to normal. What if I don't want normal? His eyes blazed. Then say yes. Take the risk. Let me show you what it means to be valued instead of just useful. Let me give you the life you deserve instead of the one you've settled for. You can't promise that. You can't promise I'll be safe or happy or that this will work. No, I can only promise that I'll try, that I'll be honest, that I'll never lie to you about who I am or what I do, and that for as long as you want me, I'm yours completely. Sansa stood, needing to move. She walked to the windows, looked out at the city lights, at the life she'd lived for 26 years down there in the streets, struggling, surviving, going through motions without actually living. And she thought about her father's last words. Don't just survive, baby girl. Live. She turned back to Wu Jin, who'd stood but remained across the room, giving her space. Okay. Okay? Yes, let's try this. But Wu Jin, I need promises from you. Real ones. Anything. No lies, ever. I don't care how ugly the truth is. If you're in danger, if something goes wrong, if you change your mind about me, I need to know. No protecting me from reality. Agreed. And I keep working. Keep my independence. I won't be some kept woman sitting in a penthouse waiting for you to come home. I need my own life. Agreed, though I reserve the right to buy you better shoes. Those ones you wear are held together with duct tape and hope. Despite everything, Sansa laughed. You notice my shoes. I notice everything about you. He moved closer, slowly, like approaching a skittish animal. The way you bite your lip when you're nervous. How you pour coffee with your left hand but write with your right. The small scar on your right temple. The fact that you haven't eaten today because you gave your lunch money to the homeless man outside the diner. How do you know that? Because I've been watching you, learning you, trying to understand what makes you so different from everyone else in my world. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that she could feel his heat. May I kiss you? Sansa's heart hammered. This was the point of no return. Once she crossed this line, everything changed. She looked up into his face, beautiful and dangerous and scarred, and made her choice. Yes. He kissed her with a gentleness that contradicted everything he'd told her about himself. His hands cupped her face like she was precious. His lips moved against hers slowly, thoroughly, like he had all the time in the world to learn what she tasted like. When his tongue traced her lower lip, Sansa gasped, and he deepened the kiss, pulling her closer. She'd been kissed before, had a boyfriend in high school, a few failed dates in her early 20s. But this was different. This was everything. Heat and want and something deeper. Something that felt like recognition, like coming home. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Wu Jin rested his forehead against hers. Stay tonight, just to sleep, just to be close. I promise I won't push for more. I don't want you to keep promising things you might not want to keep. What do you mean? I mean, I want you too. The admission came out breathless. And maybe we should stop pretending this is just about conversation and honesty and getting to know each other. Maybe we should admit that we both felt something that first night and we've been circling it ever since. His eyes darkened. Sansa, if we do this, it changes everything. You'll be mine, and I'm a possessive man. I don't share. I don't do casual. If I have you, I keep you. Good. She pulled him down for another kiss. Because I don't do casual either, and I've never felt like this about anyone. So if we're doing this, we're doing it all the way. They made it to his bedroom, clothes shedding along the way. And if Sansa had any remaining doubts about whether this was the right choice, they vanished the moment Wu Jin laid her on his bed and looked at her like she was the most precious thing he'd ever seen. The next morning, Sansa woke in sheets that probably cost more than her monthly rent, wrapped in arms that had killed 7 people. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt safer than she had in years. You're awake, Wu Jin murmured against her hair. I was hoping you wouldn't regret this in the daylight. I don't regret it, but I do need to get home, shower, get to my shift at the retail store. Call in sick, spend the day with me. Can't. Bills don't pay themselves. I could. No. She turned to face him. We agreed. I keep my independence. That means working, paying my own bills, maintaining my own life. He sighed but nodded. Stubborn woman. You knew that when you started this. It's one of the things I love about you. The word hung between them. Love. Too soon, too fast, too intense. Sansa knew she should push back, establish boundaries, slow things down. Instead, she said, good, because my stubbornness is a package deal with my opinions, my attitude, and my tendency to call you on your bullshit. His laugh was warm, genuine. I'm counting on it. Over the following weeks, Sansa learned what it meant to date a criminal. It meant security guards who followed at a distance. She'd spotted them on day 3, confronted Wu Jin, and accepted his explanation only when he promised they'd never interfere unless she was in actual danger. It meant expensive restaurants where staff knew him and feared him in equal measure. It meant late-night calls that ended with him showing up bruised or bleeding, needing her gentle hands to patch him up. But it also meant moments of unexpected tenderness. Wu Jin showing up at the diner with books he thought she'd like, learning to cook more Korean dishes so he'd always have something safe to eat. Meeting her mother and sister, a disaster that somehow turned okay when he spoke respectfully about his own parents, about family duty, about understanding the pressure of providing. He's dangerous, her mother said after he left, but her voice was thoughtful rather than condemning. But he looks at you like you hung the moon. And baby, I haven't seen anyone look at you like that since your father. 3 months into their relationship, the fragile peace shattered. Sansa was closing the diner, 2 a.m. exhausted, thinking about the bed waiting at Wu Jin's place where she'd been staying more and more often, when a black van pulled up. 4 men got out, Korean, armed, and the one in front smiled at her with too many teeth. "Sansa Williams," he said in accented English, "you're coming with us. Message for Wu Jinbaek." Terror froze her blood. She reached for her phone, but one of them was faster, knocking it from her hand. No one else was around, no security guards. She'd insisted Wu Jin pull them back last week, wanting to feel normal again. Now she understood why he'd resisted. "Don't make this difficult," the leader said, pulling a gun. "We're not here to hurt you, just to borrow you for a little while." Sansa's mind raced. She was alone, outgunned, but not helpless. Her father had taught her to fight. Street fighting, practical, dirty. And she had one advantage. They wanted her alive. She went with them, hands raised, compliant. Let them put her in the van. Waited until they were moving, until the leader holstered his gun and turned away. Then she struck, elbow to his throat, fingers to his eyes, years of pent-up frustration and fear channeling into violence. The van swerved. Someone grabbed her hair. She bit down hard, tasted blood, kept fighting like her life depended on it. Because it did. The van crashed into something, a parked car maybe, and in the chaos, Sansa threw herself out the door. She ran, not toward safety. She didn't know where that was, but toward light, people, anything. Behind her, shouts in Korean, gunshots. A bullet whizzed past her head, close enough to feel the air displacement. Her lungs burned. Her cheap shoes fell apart. But she ran. She'd made it 3 blocks when strong arms caught her from the side, pulling her into an alley. Sansa fought on instinct, nails and teeth and elbows, until a familiar voice penetrated her panic. "Sansa! It's me! It's Ji-hoon! Wu, Jin's lieutenant! You're safe!" She collapsed against him, shaking violently. Within minutes, 3 more cars arrived. Wu Jin exploded from the first one, face a mask of fury and terror. He pulled her from Ji-hoon's arms, hands running over her body, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you? I swear to God, I'll kill every single one of them." "I'm okay." Her voice shook. "I fought. Got away." "Wu Jin. They knew my name. Knew you. This was Lee's people, wasn't it?" His expression went cold. "Yes. Lee sang. Min sent them to take you. To use you against me." He pulled her impossibly closer. "I should have seen this coming. Should have protected you better. I'm the one who made you pull back security. And I should have refused. Sansa, listen to me." He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. "This ends tonight. I'm going to war with Lee. Full war. And it's going to get bloody." "What does that mean?" "It means by morning, Lee Sang-min and everyone in his organization who knew your name will be dead. It means I'm going to burn down everything he built." His voice was steel. "No one threatens what's mine and lives." Sansa should have been horrified, should have protested the violence, the death, the casual way he pronounced sentence. Instead, she felt something else. Relief, safety, the primal satisfaction of being protected so absolutely that the threat disappeared. "Do what you have to do," she said. "But Wu Jin, come back to me. Promise me you'll come back." "Always." He kissed her forehead. "Ji-hoon will take you somewhere safe, somewhere so secure that God himself couldn't find you. Stay there until I come for you." "How long?" 3 days, maybe 4. "Sansa," he cupped her face. "I love you. I need you to know that. Whatever happens, whatever you hear about what I do tonight, I need you to know that everything I am, everything I do from this moment forward, is to keep you safe." "I know." She kissed him hard, desperate. "I love you too. So don't die. Don't you dare die on me, Wu Jinbaek." He smiled, something feral and dangerous. "I won't. I have too much to live for." Ji-hoon took Sansa to a safe house in the hills above LA, a modern fortress with guards, supplies, and no connection to any of Wu Jin's known properties. She spent 4 days there, watching news reports of escalating violence in Koreatown. 5 dead the first night, 8 more the second. By day 3, the media was calling it a gang war. Police were investigating, and Woojin didn't call. Is he alive? She asked Ji-hoon on day 4, unable to take the silence. Yes, but busy. Hyung-nim is thorough when he's eliminating threats. Tell me the truth. How bad is it? Ji-hoon hesitated. Lee Sang-min is dead. So are his 3 brothers, his lieutenants, and anyone in his organization who knew about you or participated in the plan. Hyung-nim is currently absorbing Lee's territory, consolidating power, sending a message to every other gang in LA that his people are untouchable. How many dead? 37. Maybe more by now. 37 people. Dead because of her, because she'd given a hungry man her dinner, because she'd been kind to the wrong person at the wrong time. Sansa felt sick. Hey! Ji-hoon's voice was surprisingly gentle. This isn't your fault. Lee started this war months ago, pushing into our territory. Hyung-nim would have ended it eventually. You just gave him a reason to do it faster, more completely. And honestly, I've never seen him this focused, this ruthless. You're not his weakness, you're his strength. How is getting people killed strength? Because before you, he didn't care enough about anything to fight this hard. His sister died, and something in him broke. He went through the motions, ran the organization, made money, maintained power, but there was no fire, no purpose beyond survival. Ji-hoon met her eyes. You gave him a reason to care, to fight, to build instead of just maintain. That's not weakness, that's everything. Sansa wanted to believe that, wanted to think she was more than a liability, more than a complication in Woojin's dangerous world. But 37 deaths weighed heavy. On the 5th day, Woojin came for her. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, new cuts on his knuckles, moving with the careful stiffness of someone hurting. But alive, whole, hers. It's done, he said simply. Lee's organization is gone. Their territory is ours, and everyone in LA knows that touching you means death. Sansa launched herself at him, and he caught her, pulling her close despite the pain it clearly caused. You smell like smoke and blood, she said against his neck. I burned down Lee's headquarters with him inside. It seemed fitting. She should have been revolted. Instead, she just held him tighter. Are you hurt? Nothing permanent. Broken rib, knife wound in my thigh, some burns. Nothing I won't recover from. Let me see. He stripped his shirt in the safe house's living room, and Sansa assessed the damage with a clinical eye she'd developed from patching him up over the past 3 months. The knife wound was deep but clean, already stitched. The burns were superficial. The broken rib would heal. You need rest, she said. Real rest, not whatever half-sleep you manage between crises. I need you. His hands found her waist. I need to feel you alive and safe in mine. I need to forget the past 5 days and remember why I did this. They made love in the safe house's bedroom, desperate and intense. 2 people reassuring themselves they were both still alive. And afterward, lying in his arms, Sansa finally asked the question that had been haunting her. Do you regret it? Meeting me? All the complications I brought? Never. No hesitation. Sansa, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Before you, I was just going through motions. Now I have a reason to build something better, to transition the organization toward legitimate businesses, to create a life that doesn't end with me dying in an alley like my father. You mean that? Every word. You've given me hope, purpose, love. The complications are just the price of admission, and you're worth any price. Sansa kissed him, slow and thorough. Then let's start building, together, something better than what we came from. Together, he agreed. 2 weeks after the war with Lee ended, Sansa stood in Woojin's penthouse living room at midnight, staring at 8 men who looked like they could kill her with their pinkies. They were Woojin's inner circle, his lieutenants, his enforcers, the men who'd helped him burn down an empire. And they were all staring back at her with expressions ranging from suspicious to hostile. This is uncomfortable, she muttered to Woojin, who stood beside her with a hand on her lower back. They need to meet you properly. Understand what you mean to me. He turned to address the room in Korean. Rapid-fire sentences she couldn't follow. But she caught her name, caught the word for future and wife. Her stomach flipped. One of the older men, maybe 50, with gray at his temples and scars on his knuckles, spoke. Ji-hoon translated quietly. Kim Jae-sung says you're very beautiful, but beauty doesn't run an organization. He wants to know what you bring to the table besides being a distraction. Sansa felt heat rise in her cheeks. Anger, not embarrassment. She'd been dealing with dismissive men her entire life. Customers who snapped fingers at her, bosses who talked over her, men who saw a pretty face and assumed empty head. She was done being underestimated. "Tell him," she said clearly, looking directly at Kim Jae-sung, "that I bring the perspective of someone who's lived in the communities you operate in. Who knows what people need, what they fear, what would actually earn their loyalty instead of just their compliance. Tell him I've been watching Woo Jin's operation for 3 months now, and I've seen inefficiencies, missed opportunities, and strategies that alienate the very people you're trying to work with." Ji-hoon translated, eyebrows raised. The room went very quiet. Kim Jae-sung's expression darkened. He spoke again, voice harder. "He says you have no experience, no understanding of this world, and no right to criticize men who've been doing this for 30 years. Tell him he's absolutely right." Sansa's voice stayed level. "I have no experience in organized crime, but I have 26 years of experience surviving in neighborhoods where your organization operates, where protection money means families can't afford groceries, where loan sharking destroys people who are already desperate, where the choice is pay you or lose everything." She took a step forward and several men tensed. Woo Jin's hand tightened on her back. No warning or support, she wasn't sure. "You want to know what I bring to the table? I bring knowledge of what actually helps communities versus what just extracts from them. I bring connections you don't have. And I bring the ability to see that Woo Jin is trying to build something different, something better, and the old ways are dying whether you accept it or not." The room exploded into Korean, multiple men talking at once, voices raised. Woo Jin's hand left her back as he stepped forward, his own voice cutting through the chaos with authority. The argument continued for 5 minutes while Sansa stood there, heart pounding, wondering if she'd just made everything worse. Finally, Kim Jae-sung held up a hand. Silence fell. He looked at Sansa for a long moment, then spoke directly to her in heavily accented English. "You have courage. Stupid courage, maybe. But courage." He switched back to Korean, and Ji-hoon translated. "He says his wife told him the same things 30 years ago. He didn't listen. Their marriage ended, and he lost the only person who ever told him the truth. He won't make that mistake again." Then Kim Jae-sung did something unexpected. He bowed, slightly but deliberately, a sign of respect. One by one, the other men followed suit, some reluctantly, some with clear skepticism, but all acknowledging her presence. After they left, Sansa collapsed onto the couch, adrenaline crash hitting hard. "That was terrifying. That was magnificent." Woo Jin sat beside her, pulled her against him. "Do you know what you just did? You challenged my father's generation, in front of everyone, and made them respect you for it. No one does that." "Your Kim Jae-sung seems reasonable. He's killed 16 people personally. Reasonable is relative." Woo Jin kissed her temple. "But he's also the key to transitioning this organization. If he supports the changes I want to make, others will follow. And Sansa, he likes you, which means you just became one of my most valuable assets." "I don't want to be an asset. I want to be your partner." "You are, in every way that matters." He turned her face toward his. "I meant what I said in there. Future wife. I'm going to marry you, Sansa Williams, when the timing is right, when you're ready, when I've built something worthy of offering you. But it's going to happen." "Pretty presumptuous." "Is it? Tell me you don't feel the same. Tell me you haven't imagined a future with me." She couldn't, because she had. Late at night, lying beside him, she'd let herself picture it. A wedding, a home, maybe kids someday. A life built on more than just survival. It terrified her how much she wanted it. "I want it too," she admitted quietly. "But Woo, Jin, I need you to be honest about something. Are you really transitioning out of crime? Or are you just adding legitimate businesses on top of the illegal ones?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Both. Right now it's both. The legitimate businesses are real. I'm investing in real estate, opening restaurants, building actual revenue streams. But I can't just abandon the criminal operations overnight. People depend on them for income. Our protection network keeps smaller businesses safe. The loan operations, yes, some of them are predatory, but others are the only way people in our community can access capital." That's a rationalization. Maybe, or maybe it's the complex reality of trying to change a system from inside it. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I'm trying, Sansa, but it's not simple. If I just shut everything down tomorrow, hundreds of people lose their livelihoods. Rival gangs move into the vacuum. The protection we provide, legitimate protection, keeping actual criminals away from our businesses, disappears. It's not as easy as just deciding to be good. Then show me. She sat up, facing him directly. Show me your operations. The books, the businesses, everything. Let me understand what we're actually dealing with, because I can't be your partner if I'm kept in the dark about half of what you do. It's dangerous for you to know details. If police ever question you, I don't care. I need to know what I'm defending when people ask me about you. What I'm complicit in by staying. Show me everything, and then let me help figure out how to transition it. Because Wu Jin, I meant what I said to your men. I know these communities. I know what actually helps versus what just extracts. Maybe together we can build something that works. He studied her face, conflict clear in his expression. Finally, okay, tomorrow. I'll show you everything. But Sansa, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know details, you're implicated. You sure you want that? I'm already implicated. I'm sleeping in your bed, eating meals bought with your money, protected by your men. The only difference is right now I'm implicated without understanding. I'd rather have the knowledge. All right, tomorrow. He pulled her close again. But tonight, can we just be normal? Just a man and a woman who care about each other, without the weight of empires and morality and impossible choices? Yeah, Sansa said softly, settling against him. We can do that. The next morning, Wu Jin took her to a nondescript office building in Koreatown. 3 floors, legitimate businesses on the first floor, a Korean BBQ restaurant, a beauty supply shop. The second floor was various offices, seemingly normal, but the third floor required a key card, and when they entered, Sansa found herself in what looked like a corporate headquarters. Computers, filing systems, a conference room with a long table, and maps. So many maps. Of Los Angeles, marked with territories in different colors. Red zones, blue zones, green zones. Dots indicating businesses under protection. Lines showing distribution routes. Welcome to the real operation, Wu Jin said. Most people think organized crime is run out of restaurants and back rooms. We did that 20 years ago. Now it's all here. Organized, documented, run like any other business. He spent the next 4 hours walking her through everything. The protection network. They charged businesses a fee, but in return provided actual security, kept rival gangs away, mediated disputes, even helped with things like permit issues and supply chain problems. The gambling operations, mostly online now, sophisticated websites targeting Korean and Asian communities across the country. The loan services, some predatory, yes, but others providing capital to immigrant businesses that banks wouldn't touch. This is massive, Sansa said, looking at spreadsheets showing monthly revenues in the millions. I had no idea the scale. Most people don't. They think we're just thugs collecting cash. But this is a multi-million-dollar operation with sophisticated logistics, accounting, even HR. He pulled up another file. And this is the transition plan I've been developing. Slowly legitimizing each revenue stream, finding legal alternatives, transitioning people into legitimate roles. Sansa studied the plan. It was actually smart. Buying the buildings that businesses paid protection for, becoming legitimate landlords, transitioning gambling operations toward legal betting parlors, converting loan services into licensed financial institutions. How long will this take? At current pace? 5 years, maybe longer. Some things can't be rushed without creating chaos. That's a long time to be in a gray area. I know. He leaned against the table, exhaustion evident. But it's the only path I see that doesn't end with either complete collapse or continuing exactly as we are. Sansa walked around the room thinking. She'd grown up around street-level crime, dealers, small-time hustlers, desperate people doing desperate things. This was different. This was organized and strategic, almost corporate. And that actually made it more insidious, because it was easier to justify, easier to rationalize. The protection services, she said slowly, the ones where you actually provide security and help businesses, those could be fully legitimate, private security company, business consulting, community organization. That's not illegal. We'd make less money, so make it up in volume. There are thousands of small businesses in LA, Korean, Black, Latino, immigrant-owned, who'd pay for legitimate protection and support if it was affordable and actually helpful. She turned to face him. You're underpricing because you're thinking like criminals. Think like entrepreneurs instead. Wu Jin's expression shifted, interested now. Explain. Right now you charge what? Couple hundred a month for protection? And businesses pay because they're scared. But what if you charge the same amount for a legitimate service package? Security systems, insurance negotiation, group buying power for supplies, legal consultation, permit assistance, community networking. Make it a membership organization instead of a protection racket. Businesses join because it helps them, not because they're afraid. He was quiet, processing. Then, that could work. It would take time to rebrand, establish legitimacy, but that could actually work. And the loan services, the predatory ones in black neighborhoods, those need to end. But the ones providing capital to immigrant businesses, partner with community banks, become a loan broker instead of a direct lender. You have the relationships, the trust in the Korean community. Use that to connect businesses with legitimate capital. We'd lose the interest revenue. You'd get broker fees. Less money, but legal money. And you'd build goodwill, which is worth more long-term. They spent the next 3 hours sketching out a revised transition plan. Sansa found herself getting excited despite the darkness underlying everything. This was the kind of problem-solving she'd loved in her brief time at community college. Before life derailed everything. Strategy, logistics, finding creative solutions. You're good at this, Wu Jin said, watching her fill a whiteboard with ideas. Really good. Have you ever thought about going back to school? Finishing your degree? Sansa's hand stilled. Can't afford it. I looked into it a few years ago. Even with financial aid, I'd need to quit at least one job, and I can't. My mom depends on my half of rent. My sister needs help with books and supplies. What if I paid for it? No. The answer was immediate, sharp. Sansa, no. I'm not taking your money for school. That crosses a line. What line? I have money. You need education to do what you're clearly talented at. What's wrong with helping? She set down the marker, turned to face him. Because then I'd be dependent on you. And if things went wrong, if we broke up, I'd be stuck. I've seen it happen. Men who pay for things, then use it as leverage. I paid for your school, you owe me. I won't put myself in that position. Wu Jin looked genuinely hurt. You think I'd do that? Hold it over you? I think people change. Situations change. And I need to maintain my independence. It's not about trust, Wu Jin. It's about survival. I've spent my whole life depending on myself. I can't give that up. Not even for you. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, what if it was a loan? Market rate interest, proper contract, completely business. You could pay it back once you're earning more. That's still your money. Everything is my money, Sansa. This building, the food we eat, the security keeping you safe. You're already surrounded by my money. At least this way, it's being used to build your future instead of just maintaining the present. She wanted to argue, but he had a point. She was already living in his world, benefiting from his resources. Was refusing education really about independence? Or was it about pride? About proving she didn't need help even when she clearly did? I'll think about it, she finally said. But Wu Jin, I need you to understand something. I can't be a kept woman. I can't be the pretty girlfriend who sits at home spending your money. I need my own purpose, my own income, my own identity separate from being your partner. I know, and I love that about you. He came over, cupped her face gently. I don't want to change you. I just want to remove obstacles so you can become everything you're capable of. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like the same thing dressed up prettier. He didn't have an answer for that. And the truth was, neither did she. This was the complication of dating someone with resources she couldn't imagine. Every offer of help felt like a threat to her autonomy. Every gift carried weight. Even accepting his protection after the Lee situation had required her to swallow pride and admit she couldn't handle everything alone. Let's table this, she said. Focus on the business transition plan. That's concrete. That's something we can actually work on together. Okay? He didn't look happy, but he let it go. Then let's talk about the gambling operations. That's the hardest one to legitimize. 3 weeks later, Sansa got a phone call that changed everything. She was at the diner, middle of her graveyard shift, when her phone buzzed with her mother's number. Unusual. Her mom knew not to call during work unless it was an emergency. "Mom? What's wrong?" "It's Keisha." Her mother's voice was tight with controlled panic. "Police picked her up. They're saying she was with some boys who robbed a convenience store. Sansa, they're talking about charging her as an adult. She's only 17. Ice flooded Sansa's veins. Her baby sister, smart, funny Keisha, who wanted to be a doctor, who got straight A's, who'd never been in trouble in her life. That's impossible. Keisha wouldn't. I know she wouldn't, but she was there, in the car. Says she didn't know what they were planning, but police don't care. They want to make an example. Sansa, we need a lawyer, a good one, and bail is set at $50,000. $50,000. Sansa's entire savings was maybe $3,000. Her mom had even less, and public defenders were overworked, underpaid, and wouldn't fight hard enough. Keisha needed real representation, needed someone who'd actually believe a black girl from South Central when she said she was innocent. "I'll handle it," Sansa heard herself say. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll fix this." She hung up and immediately called Wu Jin. He answered on the first ring, voice alert despite the 3 a.m. hour. "What's wrong?" She explained the situation, words tumbling over themselves. When she finished, there was a brief pause, then, "I'll send Ji-hoon to the police station with a lawyer. Top criminal defense attorney, one we keep on retainer, and I'll have bail posted within the hour." Relief flooded through her, so intense it made her dizzy. "Thank you. God, thank you. I'll pay you back. I don't know how long it'll take, but I'll—" "Sansa, stop. You don't owe me anything. Family emergencies don't come with payment plans." "Yes, they do. Wu Jin, this is exactly what I was talking about. I can't be dependent on you solving my problems with your money. This isn't solving your problems. This is helping your sister, who's innocent, not get railroaded by a system designed to destroy people like her. There's a difference." Sansa wanted to argue, but Keisha was sitting in a cell somewhere, terrified, needing help. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford right now. "Okay, thank you. But Wu Jin, I am paying you back. However long it takes. We'll discuss it later. Right now, let me make some calls." By 5 a.m., Keisha was out on bail and sitting in Sansa's apartment, wrapped in a blanket, tears streaming down her face. She looked so young, too young to be facing adult criminal charges, too young to have her entire future hanging in the balance. "I didn't know," Keisha kept saying. "Marcus said we were just going to hang out, maybe get some food. I didn't know he and his friends were planning to rob the store. I was in the car when they ran back. I swear to God, Sansa, I didn't know." "I believe you," Sansa said, holding her sister close. "And the lawyer Wu Jin sent is good. He's going to prove you weren't involved." "The lawyer Wu Jin sent," Keisha repeated quietly. "Your gangster boyfriend is saving me. I don't know how to feel about that." Neither did Sansa, honestly. She was grateful, relieved, and simultaneously terrified of what this meant. Another debt, another way she was becoming entangled in Wu Jin's world, another step away from independence. Her mother arrived an hour later, pulled Keisha into a fierce hug, then turned to Sansa. "You need to thank that man of yours. I don't care what he does, where his money comes from. He saved my baby girl." "I will, Mom. And Sansa," her mother's voice softened, "maybe stop being so stubborn about accepting help. I know you like to do everything yourself, prove you're strong, but strength isn't just about what you can carry alone. Sometimes it's about knowing when to let people help carry the load." The words hit hard, because her mother was right. Sansa had spent so long trying to prove she didn't need anyone, didn't need help, could handle everything solo. But the truth was, she couldn't. Not really. Not when her sister's future was on the line. Not when life threw problems bigger than any one person could solve. She met Wu Jin that night at his penthouse. He was working in his home office, papers spread across the desk, but stood when she entered. Before he could say anything, she crossed to him and wrapped her arms around him, held on tight. "Thank you," she said into his chest. "For my sister. For not making me beg. For just fixing it." "Of course." His arms came around her. "Sansa, I told you. Your family is my family. Their problems are my problems." "But they shouldn't be. We've only been together a few months. You shouldn't have to deal with my family drama." "I want to. Don't you understand that?" He pulled back enough to look at her face. "I love you, which means I love the people you love. Taking care of them isn't a burden. It's a privilege." The words hung in the air. "I love you." He'd said it before, but this felt different. Heavier, more real. Sansa felt her eyes burn with tears she'd been holding back for hours. I love you too, she whispered, and that terrifies me. Because every time I fall deeper, I lose a little more of myself. My independence, my identity as someone separate from you. I don't know how to be in love without losing who I am. Wu Jin was quiet for a moment, then led her to the couch. They sat and he kept hold of her hands. My sister used to say something. That love isn't about two people becoming one. That's suffocation. Love is about two people staying separate, complete individuals, but choosing to build something together. You don't have to lose yourself to love me, Sansa. You just have to let me stand beside you instead of always in front of or behind you. I don't know if I know how to do that. Neither do I. I've spent 8 years being alone, in charge, responsible for everything. Letting someone in, making decisions together, compromising. It goes against every instinct. He squeezed her hands. But I want to learn, with you, if you're willing to be patient while we both figure this out. Okay, Sansa said. Okay, then let's try. But Wu, Jin, I need you to promise me something. If I start losing myself, if I start becoming just an extension of you instead of a partner, you need to tell me. You need to help me remember who I am. Keisha's case became Sansa's obsession over the following weeks. The lawyer Wu Jin had hired, a sharp Korean woman named Park Min-ji, was incredible. She picked apart the prosecution's case methodically, showing that Keisha had no prior knowledge of the robbery, that she'd actually told the boys to turn themselves in once she realized what happened, that charging her as an adult was prosecutorial overreach designed to pressure her into testifying against the others. But it was expensive. Attorney fees, investigation costs, expert witnesses. Min-ji kept saying Wu. Jin was covering it, but Sansa kept a running tally in a notebook. Every dollar spent was a dollar she owed. The number climbed, $40,000, $60,000, eventually over $80,000. You need to stop obsessing over this, Wu Jin said one night, finding her going over the numbers again. I told you it's handled. You don't owe me. $83,000, Wu Jin. That's more than I'll make in 2 years. How can you say I don't owe you? Because I don't measure our relationship in debt and payment. You're not a business transaction. But this is exactly what I was afraid of. Being so indebted to you that I can never leave, never disagree, never stand on my own. You hold my sister's freedom in your hands now? What happens if we break up? Do you ask for the money back? Does your lawyer stop defending Keisha? His expression darkened. Is that really what you think of me? That I'd use your sister's case as leverage to control you? I don't know. I've never been in this situation before. I've never owed anyone this much. And yes, part of me is terrified that this becomes a chain around my neck. Then let's put it in writing. Wu Jin stood abruptly, went to his desk, started typing on his laptop. A contract, legal and binding. All expenses related to Keisha's case are gifts. No repayment required, no strings attached. If we break up for any reason, you have no obligation to pay back any amount. If I ever try to use this against you, you can take me to court and the contract will hold up. He printed it, signed it, handed it to her. There, legal protection. Now can you please stop treating me like I'm waiting to trap you? Sansa read the document. It was straightforward, clear, exactly what he'd said, and it made her feel terrible. I'm sorry, I know you're not trying to trap me. I don't know how to accept this much help without feeling like I'm giving up pieces of myself. That's trauma talking. From your father's death, from all the years of barely surviving. But Sansa, you're not alone anymore. And accepting help doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart enough to recognize when you need support. She wanted to believe that, wanted to let go of the fear that accepting his help meant losing herself. But it was hard, so hard. The breakthrough in Keisha's case came from an unexpected source. Min-ji had hired a private investigator who found security footage from a nearby business showing Keisha clearly distressed in the car, arguing with the boys, trying to get them to turn around. Combined with phone records showing she'd called Sansa right after the robbery, panicking, it painted a clear picture. She was a victim of circumstance, not an accomplice. The DA agreed to drop the adult charges and treat her as a juvenile witness rather than a defendant. Keisha would need to testify against Marcus and his friends, but she wouldn't face any criminal record. Relief was so intense Sansa actually cried when Min-ji called with the news. Your man really came through, Keisha said that night over dinner at their mother's place. I know you've been stressed about owing him, but Sansa, he saved my life, my future. I'm not going to forget that. Neither will I, their mother added. Sansa, I know you've got your pride and your independence, but that man loves you, really loves you, the way a man should. And maybe it's time you let yourself accept that without waiting for the other shoe to drop. What if the shoe does drop, though? What if this all falls apart? Her mother reached across the table, took her hand. Baby girl, your father and I had nothing. Started with nothing, built a life with love and determination and a whole lot of struggle. And yeah, medical bills destroyed us in the end. But you know what? I'd do it all again. Because the love was real. The life we built was real. Even if it ended badly, it was worth having. Dad died owing everyone. You're still drowning in debt. How is that worth it? Because for 30 years, I was loved completely by a good man. Because we raised two beautiful daughters who are smart and strong and capable of anything. Because we had a life, Sansa. A real life, not just survival. Her mother's eyes were fierce. Don't be so afraid of losing that you never let yourself have it in the first place. The words settled into Sansa's chest, heavy and true. She'd been so focused on protecting herself from potential pain that she was missing the actual joy right in front of her. Wu Jin loved her, supported her family, wanted to build a future together, and she was treating all of it like a trap waiting to spring instead of a gift to be grateful for. That night, she went to Wu Jin's penthouse with a decision made. He was in the kitchen cooking. He'd been learning to make soul food, watching YouTube videos and practicing, wanting to make things she'd grown up with. The sight of this powerful, dangerous man carefully seasoning collard greens made her heart clench. Hey, he said, looking up with a smile, I'm attempting your mom's mac and cheese recipe. It's probably going to be terrible, but I'm trying. It smells amazing. She crossed to him, wrapped her arms around him from behind. Wu, Jin, I'm sorry for being so difficult about accepting help, for not trusting you fully. I'm trying to be better. Moving in together was surprisingly easy. Sansa didn't have much. Years of poverty meant she'd learned to travel light. Her clothes, some books, photos of her family, and Chairman Meow, her ancient cat who hissed at Wu Jin for 3 days straight before deciding he was acceptable. Your cat hates me, Wu Jin observed, watching Chairman Meow glare from across the room. He hates everyone. You're not special. Sansa scratched behind Chairman Meow's ears. But he'll come around. He just needs time. They fell into a rhythm. Sansa enrolled in online business classes. She could work toward her bachelor's while still maintaining flexibility for the diner and working with Wu Jin. He'd been serious about putting her on payroll. She started officially as a business consultant, attending meetings, offering input on the transition strategies, slowly becoming a real part of the organization. The Korean community's reaction to her presence was mixed. Some of the older generation disapproved. Interracial relationships were still controversial, and a black woman dating a Korean man carried extra weight. But slowly, through persistent attendance at community events, learning Korean, showing respect for traditions, Sansa began to win people over. You're doing better than I expected, Kim Jae-sung told her one day at a community meeting, speaking his careful English. Many Korean daughters-in-law, they marry in but don't try to understand culture. You try? That matters. I love him, Sansa said simply, which means I need to understand where he comes from. It's not about losing myself. It's about expanding to include his world while keeping mine. Kim Jae-sung nodded approvingly. Then in Korean, added something that Ji-hoon later translated. She has the heart of a warrior and the wisdom of a grandmother. Wu Jin chose well, but not everyone was supportive. 3 months after Sansa moved in, they attended a formal dinner in Koreatown, a gathering of business owners and community leaders. Wu Jin was there to discuss a new community investment initiative, and Sansa accompanied him as his partner. The evening started well. Sansa had learned enough Korean to handle basic pleasantries, and her respectful demeanor impressed most attendees. But during dinner, an older woman, Mrs. Han, matriarch of a prominent family, made a pointed comment in Korean that she clearly thought Sansa wouldn't understand. Such a shame, Mrs. Han said to her tablemate. Wu Jin is such a catch. Good-looking, successful, from excellent family, and he wastes himself on a black girl. What will their children look like? Not proper Korean, that's for certain. Sansa's hand tightened on her fork. Wu Jin had heard too. His expression went cold. Dangerous. But before he could respond, Sansa spoke up in careful Korean. Mrs. Han, I understand you think I wouldn't understand Korean, but I've been studying for months specifically so I could understand when people talk about me. She kept her voice polite, respectful, but firm. You're right that I'm not Korean. I'm black, from South Central LA, and I come from nothing. But I love Woo Jin with everything I have. And our children, if we have them, will be beautiful because they'll be made from love, not just proper bloodlines. The table went silent. Mrs. Han's face flushed with embarrassment and anger. Several people shifted uncomfortably. But one older man, Mr. Choi, who owned several restaurants, started laughing. She has fire, he said in Korean, then switched to English for Sansa's benefit. I like her. Too many young people now. They have no backbone. But you stand up for yourself. Good. Woo Jin needs someone strong, not some delicate flower who breaks at first wind. The tension broke slightly, but Mrs. Han wasn't finished. This is exactly the problem, she said, still in Korean, but clearly not caring if Sansa understood. Outsiders coming into our community, diluting our culture, taking our best men. First it was white women, now black women. Where does it end? It ends, Woo Jin said, voice deadly quiet, with you apologizing to my girlfriend, or with me ensuring that every business investment I control avoids any property you or your family own. Your choice, Mrs. Han. The threat was clear. Woo Jin's investment decisions controlled millions of dollars in the community. Han's family operated several businesses that depended on stable property values and commercial relationships. She could maintain her prejudice, but it would cost her. Mrs. Han's mouth pressed into a thin line. Finally, she spoke in stiff English. I apologize if my words offended. They were inappropriate. It wasn't sincere, but it was enough. The dinner continued, awkward but functional. But afterward, in the car ride home, Sansa felt the weight of what had happened. This is going to keep coming up, isn't it? People who think I'm not good enough, don't belong, am ruining you somehow. Probably, Woo Jin admitted. Racism and xenophobia don't disappear just because we love each other. But Sansa, I don't care what they think. The people who matter, like Mr. Choi, like Kim Jae-sung, they see your worth. The ones who don't aren't worth our time. But they're part of your community, your business network. Can you really afford to alienate them? I can afford anything if it means defending you. And honestly, the community is changing. Younger generation doesn't care about these old prejudices. In 10 years, people like Mrs. Han will be irrelevant. We just have to weather the transition. Sansa wanted to believe that, but she also knew change was slow, painful, and never guaranteed. She was walking into a lifetime of being the outsider, the one who didn't quite belong, the black woman in a Korean world. It would take strength she wasn't sure she had. But when Woo Jin reached over and laced his fingers through hers, when he looked at her with love and pride and absolute certainty, she thought maybe, just maybe, she could handle it, because she wasn't facing it alone. 6 months into living together, Sansa started to notice something. Small things at first. Woo Jin was home more. Fewer late-night calls that ended with him leaving covered in blood. Fewer tense meetings with dangerous-looking men. More time spent in legitimate business meetings, less in the shadows. You're really doing it, she said one night, looking at the latest quarterly reports. The transition, it's actually happening. Faster than I expected, thanks to you. He pulled her onto his lap, hands settling on her waist. Your strategies for legitimizing operations have been brilliant. The Protection Services rebranded as a community business association. Membership has doubled, revenue is up 40%, and it's completely legal. What about the gambling? Shut down the illegal operations entirely last month. Opened 3 legal betting parlors instead. Sports betting, licensed and regulated. Less money short-term, but sustainable and legal. And the loans? Hardest part, he sighed. I've partnered with a community bank to offer microloans to immigrant businesses. We're still doing some private lending, but only at reasonable rates and with fair terms. No more predatory shit. Sansa felt pride swell in her chest. You're doing it. Actually transitioning out. We're doing it. I couldn't have figured this out without you. He kissed her forehead. But Sansa, there's something I need to tell you. Something that's going to complicate things. Her stomach dropped. Those words were never followed by anything good. What? FBI approached me last week. Ice flooded her veins. What did they want? Information. They know about my organization, about the transition I'm making, and they offered a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for immunity. They want me to help take down other criminal organizations in LA. One still dealing in human trafficking, hard drugs, the worst stuff. That's dangerous. Wu Jin, if people find out you're working with the FBI, I'd be dead within a week, I know. He met her eyes. But Sansa, this is the only way to fully clean break from the criminal world. If I just transition my own organization, I'm still adjacent to everything, still have connections, still at risk. But if I help the FBI clear out the worst actors, if I cooperate fully, they're offering me complete immunity, a clean slate, a chance to be fully legitimate without any legal risk. What did you tell them? That I needed to talk to you first, because if I do this, it affects your life too. You'd be at risk. We'd need federal protection. Possibly witness relocation if things went bad. I can't make this decision without you. Sansa's mind raced. Federal protection meant leaving everything. Her job, her family, her life. But it also meant Wu Jin could finally, truly escape the criminal world. Could build something legitimate without constantly looking over his shoulder. Tell me the truth, she said. Do you want to do this? Or is it just the only option you see? I want to do it. I'm tired, Sansa. Tired of violence, of danger, of living in moral gray areas. I want a clean life. A life where I can marry you without worrying about enemies crashing the wedding. Where we can have kids without them growing up surrounded by danger. This is my chance at that. Then do it, she said. Do it, and I'll stand beside you through whatever comes. Even if it means federal protection, possibly leaving LA. Even then, because Wu Jin, I didn't fall in love with you for your money or your power or your connections. I fell in love with the man who ate chicken and rice like it was the best meal of his life, who looks at me like I matter, who's been fighting so hard to become better than what he was born into. If you need to cooperate with the FBI to finish that transformation, then that's what we do. He pulled her close, held her so tightly she could barely breathe. I don't deserve you. Too bad. You're stuck with me anyway. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, both knowing that the decision made tonight would change everything. For better or worse, they were committed. Together. The next morning, Wu Jin met with FBI agent Marcus Thompson, the same agent who tried to recruit Sansa months earlier. They met in a safe location, a federal building downtown, with Sansa present at Wu Jin's insistence. Miss Williams, Thompson said, surprise evident, I didn't expect to see you here. I'm his partner. What affects him affects me. Sansa's voice was firm. And if we're doing this, I need to understand exactly what it entails. Thompson nodded slowly, then laid out the terms. Full cooperation meant Wu Jin would provide detailed information on 12 major criminal organizations operating in LA. He'd testify if needed, wear wires to meetings, help set up operations. In exchange, complete immunity for himself and his key people who were transitioning to legitimate business, protection for Sansa and her family, and assistance establishing himself in legal enterprises. What's the timeline? Wu Jin asked. 6 months to a year. Depends on how quickly we can build cases. Some organizations will be easy. We already have evidence, just need your testimony to complete it. Others will require more work. And the danger level? Extreme. If word gets out that you're cooperating, every criminal organization in LA will want you dead. We can offer protection, but it's not foolproof. There's real risk here. Wu Jin looked at Sansa. She saw the question in his eyes. Are you sure? Is this worth it? She took his hand, squeezed once. Yes. We're in, Wu Jin said. But I have conditions. My people who are transitioning, Ji-hoon, Kim Jae-sung, about 15 others, they get immunity too. They've been working with me to go legitimate. They don't deserve to go down for crimes committed before they changed. Done. And Sansa's family, mother, sister, they get protection, non-negotiable. Agreed. Anyone else? The diner where I met Sansa, Rosie's, the owner, the staff, they're all good people who've been kind to me. I want them protected too. If someone tries to get me through them, I need to know they're safe. Thompson made notes. We can do that. Anything else? Yeah. When this is over, when all the testimony is done and the cases are closed, I want out completely. No more informant work, no more cooperation. I get to live my life without federal oversight or obligations. Thompson considered this. That can be negotiated. The U.S. attorney will want assurances you're completely out of criminal activity. You have my word and Sansa's word. We're building legitimate businesses, nothing else. Then we have a deal. We'll draft the formal agreement this week. In the meantime, start gathering information on the first target, Lee Jin-ho's organization. They're our top priority. The meeting ended, and Sansa felt the weight of what they'd just committed to settle over her. This was real. They were informants now, and the danger had just multiplied exponentially. You're quiet, Wu Jin observed in the car ride home. Second thoughts? No second thoughts. Just reality sinking in. We just agreed to help the FBI take down 12 criminal organizations. That's not a small thing. No, it's not. But Sansa, this is the only way out that doesn't involve looking over our shoulders forever. Either we're running from the past or we're confronting it and moving forward. I choose forward. Me too, she said, taking his hand. But Wu Jin, there's something I need to say. If something happens to you because of this, if you get hurt or worse, I need you to know that I'll be okay, that I'll continue what we started. The community centers, the legitimate businesses, everything. I won't let your legacy be about crime. It'll be about redemption. His eyes glistened. That's the most beautiful promise anyone's ever made me. The first month of cooperation was tense but uneventful. Wu Jin provided information on Lee Jin-ho's organization, drug distribution networks, money laundering operations, key personnel. The FBI began building cases, gathering additional evidence, preparing for arrests, but the danger was constant. Their movements were restricted, security details followed them everywhere, and paranoia became a constant companion. One night, Sansa noticed a dark bruise on Wu Jin's ribs when he undressed for bed. What happened? She asked, gently probing the discoloration. Nothing. Just a rough day. Wu Jin. She moved closer, gently touched the bruise. He winced. This isn't nothing. Did someone find out about the FBI? No, this is something else. One of my father's old associates, Park Dae-ho, he's been resisting the transition, wanting to maintain the old criminal operations. Tonight, he made his displeasure known. He beat you? He tried. I gave better than I got. But Sansa, this is going to get worse before it gets better. The old guard doesn't want change. They've been profiting from the criminal operations for decades. Every step I take toward legitimacy threatens their income. What are you going to do? Remove him. Not violently, he added quickly, seeing her expression. But Park has been skimming money from our operations for years. I have evidence. I'm going to present it to the Council of Elders. Let them handle him according to our traditions. He'll be cast out, lose his position, his respect. It's enough. And if he retaliates, then I'll handle it. But I'm trying to do this the right way, Sansa. No more unnecessary violence. Let the community police itself. She helped him ice the bruise, neither speaking, but fear had settled in her stomach like a stone. This was the reality of his world. Even going legitimate meant navigating dangerous men who didn't want things to change. The next day, Sansa was at one of Wu Jin's legitimate restaurants, meeting with the manager about expanding the menu, when her phone rang. Her mother, voice tight with controlled panic. Sansa, where's Keisha? Have you heard from her? Not since yesterday. Why? She didn't come home last night. She's not answering her phone. I called her friends. Nobody's seen her since school ended yesterday. Ice water in her veins. I'm sure she's fine, Mom. Maybe she's at a friend's house and her phone died. She knows to call if she's staying somewhere. Something's wrong, Sansa. I can feel it. Sansa hung up and immediately called Wu Jin. He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? Keisha's missing. Since yesterday. My mom can't reach her. A pause, then very quietly. I'll make some calls. Stay where you are. Wu Jin, what aren't you telling me? Another pause. Longer this time. Park Dae-ho, the man I'm moving against. He knows about Keisha's case, knows I helped. He might have taken her to use his leverage. The world tilted. No, he wouldn't. She's 17. She's a kid. Which is why he'd do it. Maximum impact, maximum pressure. I'm going to find her, I promise. But I need you to stay calm, stay safe. Can you do that? Fuck staying safe. That's my baby sister. I'm coming with you. Sansa, don't try to protect me by leaving me behind. She's my family. I'm coming. He didn't argue further. Within 20 minutes, Ji-hoon picked her up, drove her to a warehouse in an industrial part of LA she'd never been to. Inside, Wu Jin was orchestrating something that looked military. Men with phones, computers, maps spread across tables. A war room. What do we know? Sansa asked, pushing past fear into focus. Park has 3 properties he uses for storage. Wu Jin's careful word choice told her exactly what kind of storage. We're checking them systematically. If she's with him, we'll find her. And then what? You storm in, guns blazing? She could get caught in the crossfire. Then we negotiate. Park wants me to back off the legitimacy push, maintain the criminal operations. I'll tell him I will, in exchange for Keisha's safe return. You'd give up everything you've worked for? For your sister? Yes, without hesitation. We can rebuild the transition later. But if something happens to her because of me, his voice cracked slightly. I couldn't live with that. Sansa moved to him, took his face in her hands. We're going to find her, and then we're going to make Park regret ever touching my family. The first 2 properties turned up nothing. But the third, a warehouse near the ports, had Park's car parked outside. And through thermal imaging equipment that Sansa didn't want to know how they'd acquired, they could see 2 heat signatures inside. One large, one smaller. That could be her, Jihoon said quietly. Or it could be anyone. Wu Jin's jaw was tight. We need confirmation before we move. I can get confirmation. Sansa heard herself say the words before thinking them through. Let me call him. Tell him I know he has Keisha, that I want to negotiate. Absolutely not. You're not putting yourself in his sights. I'm already in his sights by being with you. But Wu Jin, he's using Keisha to get to you. If I approach him, sister to kidnapper, maybe he'll talk. Maybe he'll let something slip. Or maybe he'll decide to grab you too. Not if I call him. Not if this is just a phone conversation. She pulled out her phone. Hoon, you can trace calls, right? If I get Park on the phone, you can confirm location? Yes, but Miss Sansa, this is risky. Everything about this situation is risky. Give me his number. Wu Jin looked like he wanted to argue, but he also knew she was right. After a long moment, he nodded to Jihoon, who pulled up Park's contact information. Sansa dialed, put it on speaker. 3 rings. Then a man's voice accented, wary. Who is this? My name is Sansa Williams. I think you have my sister, Keisha. I want her back. A pause, then laughter, harsh and ugly. The black girlfriend. Wu Jin's weakness. I was wondering when you'd call. Is she there? Is she safe? She's fine. Scared but unharmed, for now. Whether she stays that way depends on your boyfriend. What do you want? I want Wu Jin to stop this foolish legitimacy campaign. Stop transitioning operations. Maintain the criminal enterprises that have kept our families wealthy for generations. He does this. Your sister comes home. He refuses. Park let the threat hang. You're threatening a 17-year-old girl. What kind of man does that? A practical one. Your sister is leverage. Nothing personal. But Miss Williams, you should ask your boyfriend how many people he's hurt to protect his interests. I'm not the villain here. I'm just playing the same game he's been playing for years. Sansa felt Wu Jin tense beside her, but she kept her voice level. What if I made you a better offer? I'm listening. The transition to legitimate businesses, it's happening whether you want it or not. The FBI is already watching. Continuing criminal operations just puts targets on everyone's backs. But what if, instead of being cut out, you were offered a stake in the legitimate operations? A way to maintain income and status without the legal risk? Park laughed again. Why would I believe that? Why would Wu Jin offer me anything after I've taken your sister? Because he's smart enough to know that this can end 2 ways. Violently, with everyone losing, or with negotiation where everyone comes out ahead. You give us Keisha back, unharmed, and we bring you into the legitimate operations as a partner. You get to maintain wealth and position. We get my sister back and avoid a war. Everyone wins. Interesting proposal, but I don't trust your boyfriend. Then trust the FBI, because they're the ones pushing this transition, and they have the power to make your life very difficult if you don't cooperate. It was a gamble. Park didn't know about Wu Jin's cooperation. She was just implying federal pressure. You can fight this and lose everything, or adapt and keep your status. Your choice. Silence on the other end. Then, I want to hear this from Wu Jin himself, in person. Tonight. Just him. No backup. He comes alone to discuss terms. I release the girl. No, Sansa said immediately. That's a trap. Perhaps. Or perhaps I'm a businessman who wants to negotiate. Woo Jin knows where I am. He has 2 hours. Park hung up. The room exploded into argument. Multiple voices in Korean and English, everyone talking over each other. But Woo Jin held up a hand and silence fell. I'm going. Hyungnim, it's obviously a trap, Ji-hoon protested. He'll kill you the moment you walk in. Maybe, but it's also our best chance to get Keisha out alive. If we storm the warehouse, he might hurt her out of spite. This way, there's a chance for negotiation. Then I'm going with you, Sansa said. Absolutely not. He knows about me. Using me as a bargaining chip only works if he thinks you care about me being at risk too. We go together. Show him we're united. That this isn't just you making decisions. It might make him believe the partnership offer. Or it puts you directly in danger. I've been in danger since I gave you my chicken dinner. This is just making it official. Woo. Jin looked at her for a long moment. She saw the war in his eyes, the desire to protect her versus the knowledge that she was right. Finally, he turned to Ji-hoon. Full tactical team surrounds the building. Thermal imaging, communications monitoring, everything. At first sign of trouble, you breach. Non-negotiable. Yes, Hyungnam. And Agent Thompson, call him. Tell him what's happening. If this goes wrong, I want federal backup ready. Preparations took an hour. Sansa was fitted with a wire. Tiny microphone hidden in her bra, so small she could barely feel it. Woo Jin wore one too, concealed in a button on his shirt. They were given panic buttons. Tiny devices they could trigger if things went wrong. This is insane, Sansa muttered, looking at herself in a mirror. She changed into simple jeans and a jacket. Nothing that would restrict movement if she needed to run. I'm a waitress. How did I end up wearing a wire to negotiate with a Korean gangster? You gave me your dinner, Woo Jin said from behind her. He wrapped his arms around her waist, met her eyes in the mirror. Everything else followed from that moment. And Sansa, if something goes wrong tonight, if Park does something, don't do the goodbye speech. We're both walking out of that warehouse alive with Keisha. But if we don't, then we don't. But I'm not spending our last moments together talking about failure. We're going to succeed. We're going to get my sister. And then we're going home and having a very long discussion about acceptable risk levels in this relationship. He laughed despite the tension, buried his face in her neck. I love you. So much it terrifies me. Good. Terror means you'll be careful. Now let's go save my sister. The warehouse was exactly as ominous as Sansa had imagined. Concrete and steel, windows too high to see through, one visible entrance. Ji-hoon and his team were positioned around the perimeter, invisible but present. Federal agents were 3 blocks away, ready to move, and Sansa and Woo Jin walked toward the door, hands linked, both terrified and determined. Remember, Woo Jin said quietly, stay behind me. If shooting starts, you run. Don't try to be a hero. Same goes for you. I'm not a hero, Sansa. I'm just a man trying to protect what's his. They reached the door. Woo Jin knocked once, twice. It swung open, revealing a young Korean man with a gun. He gestured them inside without speaking. The warehouse interior was mostly empty. A few shipping containers, some old equipment, and in the center, a chair where Keisha sat. She was bound but looked unharmed, eyes wide with fear. When she saw Sansa, relief flooded her face. Keisha, baby, are you okay? Sansa called out. I'm fine. Scared, but fine. Keisha's voice trembled. Sansa, you shouldn't have come. These people are... Enough! Park Dae-ho stepped from behind a shipping container. He was maybe 60, gray-haired, wearing an expensive suit that seemed absurd in the warehouse setting. Miss Williams, Mr. Beck, thank you for coming. Release her, Woo Jin said flatly. Then we talk. No. First we talk, establish terms. Then if I'm satisfied, your little sister goes free. Park gestured to a folding table with 3 chairs. Please, sit. Let's discuss business like civilized people. It was surreal, negotiating at a folding table in a warehouse while Keisha sat bound 20 feet away. But Sansa sat, Woo Jin beside her, while Park settled across from them with the casual confidence of someone who held all the cards. Your girlfriend made an interesting proposal on the phone, Park said. Partnership in legitimate operations. But I'm curious. Why should I believe this isn't just a stalling tactic? Because the transition is happening regardless, Woo Jin said. I'm done with the criminal operations. They're too risky, too volatile, and they prevent me from building something sustainable. You can fight this change and lose everything, or you can adapt and maintain your position. Maintain my position. Park's smile was thin. I've been in this organization since your father started it. I helped build what you're now trying to dismantle, and you expect me to just accept being pushed aside? Not pushed aside, transitioned. Park, look at what's happening in LA. Federal investigations are increasing. Rival gangs are more violent. The old ways are dying. We can either die with them or evolve. Evolve. Park said the word like it tasted bad. Your father would be ashamed. He built this empire through strength and fear, and you want to turn it into some legitimate business venture. My father is dead because of this world. Wu Jin's voice was hard. Shot 6 times in an alley, bleeding out while I held him because he couldn't see past the old ways. I won't make the same mistake. Then you're a fool, and you've dragged this woman, Park gestured at Sansa with dismissive contempt, into a world she doesn't understand. Does she know how many people you've killed, Wu Jin? Does she know what you've really done to build your power? She knows, Sansa said before Wu Jin could respond. She knows all of it, and she's still here, still fighting beside him, because people can change, because building something better matters more than maintaining something broken. Pretty speech, but speeches don't pay bills. What exactly are you offering me in these legitimate operations? Wu Jin pulled out a folder. They'd prepared this ahead of time, hoping negotiation was possible. 20% stake in the property management company, board position in the community investment fund, consulting role in the restaurant operations. You maintain income and status while transitioning out of illegal activity. Park flipped through the documents, expression unreadable. And my people, the ones who work for me? Jobs in the legitimate operations if they want them, or severance packages if they choose to leave entirely. Nobody gets abandoned. Generous, almost too generous. Park set down the papers. Which makes me think you're hiding something. What aren't you telling me? Sansa felt Wu Jin tense. This was the moment. Did they reveal the FBI cooperation or continue hiding it? The wrong choice could get them all killed. I'm working with federal authorities, Wu Jin said, and Sansa's heart stopped, providing information on criminal organizations in exchange for immunity. The transition isn't optional, Park. It's necessary for survival, but I'm offering you a way to survive with me instead of going down with the others. Park's expression went cold. You're an informant. I'm a man ensuring his future and protecting the people I care about. Yes, I'm cooperating with the FBI, but Park, they're coming anyway. With or without my help, there are federal investigations targeting organized crime in LA. I'm just making sure I'm on the right side when it all comes down. And you want me to join you? To become an informant too? I want you to transition into legitimate business before you're forced to. The FBI isn't interested in people who are already going legal. They want the human traffickers, the hard drug dealers, the truly violent operations. You've never been involved in that level of crime. You can transition without federal pressure. Park stood abruptly, began pacing. The young man with the gun shifted, clearly nervous about his boss's agitation. Sansa's hand found Wu Jin's under the table, squeezed hard. You've put me in an impossible position, Park said finally. If I refuse your offer, you'll likely provide information that gets me arrested. If I accept, I'm admitting weakness, accepting your terms instead of maintaining my own power. Either way, I lose. Or you survive, Sansa interjected. Mr. Park, from what I understand, you've been in this organization for 30 years. You've built wealth, status, respect. The question isn't whether you lose, it's whether you lose everything or just adapt to a new reality. Pride is expensive. Sometimes survival means swallowing it. Park looked at her for a long moment. You're remarkably composed for a woman whose sister is being held hostage. I'm terrified, but terror doesn't help Keisha. Negotiation does. So let's finish this. You release my sister, unharmed. You accept the partnership offer, and everyone walks away intact. Or we can keep posturing until someone does something stupid and people die. Your choice. Another long silence. Then Park turned to the young man with the gun. Release her. Hyung-Nim? The young man looked confused. I said release her. Cut her bonds. Let her go to her sister. The young man hesitated, then moved to Keisha. Cut the zip ties binding her wrists and ankles. Keisha stood shakily, ran to Sansa, who wrapped her arms around her little sister with relief so intense it made her dizzy. You okay? Did they hurt you? No, just scared. Sansa, what's happening? Why is that guy talking about partnerships in the FBI? I'll explain later. Right now we're leaving. Not yet. Park's voice stopped them. I accept the partnership offer. But Wu Jin, hear me. If you're lying, if this is a trap, if you're using me to build a federal case, I will destroy everything you love. This woman, her family, every legitimate business you're trying to build. I will burn it all down, understand? I understand, and I'm not lying. The offer is genuine. Then we have a deal. Park moved to the table, picked up a pen, signed the partnership documents. I'll begin transitioning my operations next week. But Park, one more thing. They walked out of the warehouse into cool LA night air that felt like freedom. Ji-hoon and his team materialized from the shadows, weapons ready, but Wu Jin waved them off. Stand down. We have an agreement. The drive back was quiet. Keisha sat in the back, wrapped in Sansa's arms, still trembling with residual fear. Wu Jin drove, jaw tight, hands clenched on the steering wheel. And Sansa felt the adrenaline slowly drain, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I need to call Mom, Keisha said finally. She must be losing her mind. Call her, tell her you're safe, that you're with me, that we'll explain everything tomorrow. While Keisha made the call, Wu Jin glanced at Sansa. You were incredible in there. The way you negotiated, kept calm. I was terrified. Being terrified and doing it anyway, that's courage. You saved her, Sansa. Your negotiation, your presence, it changed Park's calculations. We saved her, together. She reached over, touched his arm. But Wu Jin, we need to talk about this. About the danger, about Keisha being used against you. This can't happen again. It won't. I'm accelerating the FBI cooperation timeline. The faster we clear out the worst criminal elements, the faster we're all safe. They dropped Keisha at their mother's place. Tearful reunion, Sansa promising to explain everything later, then went home to the penthouse. It was 4 a.m. They should have been exhausted, but adrenaline still hummed through both of them. Take a shower, Wu Jin said gently. Wash this night off. I'll make tea. Sansa stood under hot water for 20 minutes, letting it strip away the fear and tension. When she emerged, Wu Jin was on the couch, 2 cups of tea on the table, staring out at the city lights. Hey, she said softly, settling beside him. Hey. He handed her tea and they sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then, I'm sorry for putting your sister at risk, for dragging your family into this world. You didn't drag us. I chose to be with you knowing the risks. And Keisha, Park would have found some leverage regardless. This isn't your fault. Feels like it is. Well, it's not. But Wu Jin, we need to be smarter about security. My mom, Keisha, even Rosie at the diner. Anyone connected to me is a potential target. We need better protection protocols. Already done. I called Ji-hoon from the car. Your mother's building will have discreet security starting tomorrow. Keisha will have a guard following her to and from school. Close enough to help, but far enough not to be obvious. And the diner gets upgraded security systems. My mom's going to hate that. She values her independence. Then we don't tell her. The security stays invisible unless needed. She never knows they're there. Sansa sipped her tea, thinking. The web of protection around them was growing, becoming more complex. Every person they cared about needed guarding. Every connection was a potential vulnerability. It was exhausting. What are you thinking? Wu Jin asked. That this is the reality of your world. Our world now. Constant vigilance, always watching for threats, never fully relaxing. I knew that intellectually, but tonight made it real. You can still walk away. I'd understand. Stop offering me exits. I'm not leaving. I'm just adjusting my expectations. Learning what this life actually means. He pulled her close, and they sat like that for a long time, watching the sun start to rise over Los Angeles. A new day, a new beginning. And the knowledge that they'd survived this night together, that they'd saved Keisha, and maybe even found a path toward lasting peace. The next 2 months were a blur of activity. Wu Jin accelerated his FBI cooperation, providing detailed information on 6 major criminal organizations. Each one was carefully chosen. Groups involved in human trafficking, fentanyl distribution, violent extortion, the worst of the worst, organizations that deserved to be dismantled. Sansa watched him transform during this period. He was focused, driven, but also lighter somehow. like each criminal organization taken down lifted weight from his shoulders. Each monster removed from LA's streets made him feel less monstrous himself. 3 more to go, he told her one night, looking at the remaining files. 3 more operations, then my cooperation agreement is fulfilled. Then we're free. And Park, how's that partnership working? Surprisingly well. He's actually good at legitimate business development. Turns out decades of managing criminal enterprises translates well to legal ones. He's been instrumental in expanding our restaurant operations. So kidnapping my sister led to a successful business partnership? That's the weirdest silver lining ever. Wu Jin laughed. This whole situation is weird, but it's working. Sansa had her own transformation happening. She'd finished her first semester of online classes with straight A's, rediscovered her love of learning, found herself thinking about business strategy even when she wasn't working. And she'd been promoted within Wu Jin's organization, officially now business development director, with real responsibilities and a salary that made her gasp when she first saw it. This is too much, she'd protested. I'm not worth $70,000 a year. You're worth more. That's entry level for what you do. In 2 years, you'll be making twice that. Wu Jin had been completely serious. Sansa, you're legitimately talented at this. Stop undervaluing yourself. My father made $30,000 a year working 3 jobs. And you're making more because you have education and skills he didn't have access to. That's not betraying him. That's honoring his sacrifice by building the life he wanted for you. The words had hit hard, because Wu Jin was right. Her father had worked himself to death so she could have opportunities. Refusing those opportunities out of guilt wasn't honoring him. It was wasting his sacrifice. By the end of the 2nd month, federal operations had successfully dismantled 5 of the 6 targeted criminal organizations. Dozens of arrests, millions in seized assets, human trafficking rings destroyed. And through it all, Wu Jin's cooperation remained secret. The criminals who were arrested suspected informants, but they focused on their own people. Never looked outside to the reformed Korean gangster who'd helped bring them down. One more, Agent Thompson said at their final meeting. Lee Enterprises, they're the biggest, the most dangerous, heavy involvement in fentanyl distribution, responsible for dozens of overdose deaths. We need your testimony to make the case stick. Lee Enterprises. Wu Jin's voice was flat. That's Lee Jin-ho's organization, the nephew of Lee Sang-min, the man I went to war with last year. You have history? I killed his uncle, burned down his family's headquarters. Yes, we have history. Will that be a problem? Only if he finds out I'm testifying against him. If Lee Jin-ho discovers I'm the informant, he'll come after me with everything he has. And Agent Thompson, these people are violent. People are violent in ways that make my organization look civilized. They won't just target me. They'll target Sansa, her family, everyone I care about. We can provide protection. You can't protect everyone. Not from people this determined. Wu Jin looked at Sansa. Maybe I should refuse this one. 5 operations is enough. We don't need to push our luck. How many people have died from Lee's fentanyl? Sansa asked Agent Thompson. In the past year, 47 confirmed overdoses linked directly to his supply chain. Probably more we can't prove. 47 people. Sansa turned to Wu Jin. 47 families destroyed. And we have the chance to stop him? At significant risk to ourselves. Everything we've done has been risky, but this matters. These aren't rival criminals. These are regular people dying because someone's flooding streets with poison. We have to stop him. Wu Jin was quiet for a long moment. Then to Thompson. What's the timeline? Grand jury testimony in 2 weeks. Trial probably 6 months later, if it goes that far. Most likely he'll take a plea deal once he knows the evidence against him. And security? Full federal protection starting the day you testify. Safe house, marshals, the works. We'll keep you and Miss Williams secure until Lee is convicted and sentenced. What about her family? Her mother? Her sister? Protected as well. We'll put security on them. Discreetly monitor for threats. If Lee makes any move toward them, we'll know immediately. Wu Jin looked at Sansa one more time. She nodded. He turned back to Thompson. All right, I'll testify. But if anything happens to Sansa or her family because of this, I will hold you personally responsible. Understood. The 2 weeks before testimony were the longest of Sansa's life. They continued working, continued living as normally as possible, but tension hummed beneath everything. Federal agents were a constant presence, not intrusive, But there, watching, protecting, waiting for threats that might or might not materialize. This is temporary, Woo Jin kept saying. Once I testify, once Lee is arrested, it gets better. We just have to get through these next few weeks. But Sansa could see the stress eating at him. He wasn't sleeping well, would wake at 2 a.m. and pace the penthouse. His ulcer flared up again. Twice she found him in the bathroom at dawn, sick from stress and pain. She made him the bland foods he needed, held him when panic attacks hit, reminded him constantly that they were doing the right thing. 3 days before the scheduled testimony, everything fell apart. Sansa was at the diner. She'd insisted on maintaining at least one shift a week, needing that connection to her old life. When a man she didn't recognize sat at the counter. Korean, maybe 30, expensive suit. He ordered coffee, drank it slowly, said nothing unusual, but something about him made her skin crawl. When he paid, he left a business card face down under his cup. Sansa picked it up after he left, flipped it over. No name, no company, just a phone number and 4 words in neat handwriting. We know about Thursday. Thursday, the day of Woo Jin's grand jury testimony. Ice flooded her veins. She immediately called Woo Jin, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. Someone knows, she said without preamble. Lee's people. They know about the testimony. Silence then. Where are you? The diner. A man just left a card. Woo Jin, they know. About Thursday. About the grand jury. Stay there. Security is on their way to you. Don't leave the diner. Don't talk to anyone you don't know. I'm calling Thompson. Within 10 minutes, federal agents had flooded the diner. They evacuated everyone else, turned it into a secure location, while they questioned Sansa about the man. Her description was vague. Korean, expensive suit, unremarkable features. Could have been anyone. Woo Jin arrived with Agent Thompson. The card was analyzed, dusted for prints, but whoever left it had been careful. No evidence, no leads. Just the message. We know about Thursday. We need to move the testimony, Thompson said. Change the location, the timing, increase security. If they know about Thursday, they probably know about the grand jury itself, Woo Jin countered. Moving the date doesn't change that they're aware of my cooperation. Then what do you want to do? I want to finish this. Testify as planned, get Lee arrested, end this before it escalates further. Every day we wait is another day Lee's people can plan something worse. It's risky. Everything about this has been risky. Woo Jin looked at Sansa. But we're not backing down now. Not when we're this close. Thompson laid out enhanced security protocols. Sansa and Woo Jin would be moved to a secure federal facility until after the testimony. Her mother and Keisha would be placed in protective custody, told it was a precautionary vacation, nothing serious. The diner would be under surveillance in case Lee's people came back. This is really happening, Sansa said that night in the federal safe house. A bland apartment in a nondescript building that felt more like prison than protection. We're actually going through with this. You can still back out. Thompson would understand if you wanted distance. Wanted to protect yourself. For the last time, stop giving me exits I'm not going to take. She moved into his arms. We're in this together. Thursday happens, you testify, Lee goes down, and then we get our lives back. That's the plan. What if something goes wrong? Then we handle it. Together. Like we've handled everything else. They made love that night with desperate intensity. 2 people clinging to each other against an uncertain future. And in the morning, they woke to the beginning of the most dangerous 3 days of their lives. Wednesday morning, Sansa woke to find Woo Jin already dressed, staring out the safe house window at the gray LA sky. She knew that posture, the rigid spine, the clenched jaw, the way his hands were clasped behind his back like he was holding himself together through sheer force of will. Couldn't sleep? He didn't turn. Been thinking about tomorrow, about what testifying means. Once I walk into that grand jury room, there's no going back. I'll be officially marked as an informant, a rat. Everything my father built, everything he stood for, betrayed. Your father is dead because of this world. You said so yourself. I know, but betrayal still tastes bitter, even when it's necessary. Sansa went to him, slipped her arms around his waist from behind. You're not betraying him. You're choosing to be better than he was. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, I'm doing exactly what he taught me never to do, cooperating with authorities, giving up our own people. Lee Jin-ho isn't your people. He's a poison dealer who's killed dozens of innocent people. Your father might have run criminal operations, but was he okay with fentanyl? With overdose deaths? No, he had lines. Drugs that killed indiscriminately, he refused to touch them. Said there was no honor in that kind of death. Then testifying against Lee isn't betraying your father. It's honoring his principles, the ones that actually mattered. Woo Jin turned in her arms, and she saw the conflict in his eyes. Fear and determination and grief all mixed together. What if I can't do it? What if I get in that room tomorrow and freeze? You won't, because you're the strongest person I know. Because you've already done harder things. Killed people, watched your father die, built an empire, and then systematically dismantled it. Sitting in a room and answering questions? That's nothing compared to what you've already survived. You have a lot of faith in me. Someone has to. Might as well be the woman who loves you. They spent Wednesday in the safe house, going over testimony with Agent Thompson and a federal prosecutor. A sharp-eyed woman named Jennifer Chen, who'd been building cases against Lee for 2 years. She walked Woo Jin through every question he'd be asked, every piece of evidence he'd need to verify, every potential challenge from Lee's defense. The key, Chen explained, is to be specific. Dates, locations, amounts. The more detail you can provide, the stronger the case. Lee's lawyers will try to discredit you. You're a criminal yourself, after all, a biased witness. But if your testimony matches financial records, surveillance footage, other evidence we've gathered, it becomes irrefutable. What about his organization? Will they retaliate? Almost certainly once he's arrested and realizes someone informed on him, which is why you'll remain in protective custody until we're confident the threat level has decreased. Could be weeks, could be months. Months! Sansa felt her stomach drop. We could be in hiding for months? Possibly. Lee's organization is extensive, well-funded, and has a history of extreme violence. We can't release you back into the world until we're certain they've been neutralized. What about my family? My mother, my sister? They can't just disappear for months. They can continue their lives with security details. You're the primary targets, you and Mr. Beck. Your family will be protected, but they won't need to hide the way you will. It was cold comfort. Sansa thought about months in safe houses, unable to work at the diner, unable to see her mother freely, unable to live any kind of normal life. This was the cost of doing the right thing. It felt impossibly high. That night, lying in the safe house's sterile bedroom, Sansa's phone rang. Her mother. She almost didn't answer. Federal agents had advised minimal contact with family during this period, but something made her pick up. Baby girl, her mother's voice was tight. Where are you? Keisha says there are men watching our building, and you haven't been by in 3 days. I'm safe, Mom. I can't explain everything right now, but I need you to trust me. The men watching the building are good guys, there to protect you. And I'll explain everything soon, I promise. This is about that man of yours, isn't it? About his world? Sansa, I knew this would happen. Knew that getting involved with him would bring danger. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm sitting, my daughter has disappeared. There are strange men watching my home, and nobody will tell me anything. How is that not dangerous? Sansa felt tears burn her eyes. Mom, I love him. And yes, his world is complicated and sometimes scary, but we're trying to make it better, to fix things. That's what's happening right now. We're fixing things. And once it's done, everything will be safer. For all of us. Her mother was quiet for a long moment, then softly, Your father used to say that he was working to make things better for us. And then he died drowning in debt and desperation. Sansa, I don't want that life for you. I don't want you sacrificing yourself for someone else's dreams. This isn't sacrifice, Mom. This is partnership. Building something together. There's a difference. I hope so, baby. I really hope so. Because if that man gets you killed, I'll find a way to bring him back just so I can kill him myself. Despite everything, Sansa laughed. I love you too, Mom. After they hung up, Sansa sat on the edge of the bed, phone in her hands, feeling the weight of her mother's fear. Woo Jin emerged from the bathroom, saw her expression. What's wrong? My mom, she's scared, doesn't understand what's happening, just knows there's danger. And I can't explain because explaining would make her more scared. We could tell her. Thompson would allow it if we thought it was necessary. No, she doesn't need details. She just needs this to be over so she can stop worrying. Sansa looked up at him. Promise me something. After tomorrow, after the testimony, after all of this, promise me we get out. Completely out. No more connections to criminal worlds. No more dangerous situations. Just normal life. I promise, once Leah's arrested and my cooperation agreement is fulfilled, we're done. Completely, totally done. We'll build our legitimate businesses, live quietly, be boring. Boring sounds amazing right now. Boring sounds like heaven. Thursday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Federal marshals collected them at 6 a.m., transported them in an armored vehicle to the courthouse. The route was circuitous, designed to prevent anyone from predicting their path. Sansa watched LA pass by through bulletproof windows, wondering if Lee's people were out there, watching, planning. The courthouse itself was a fortress. Metal detectors, armed guards, secured corridors. They were taken to a private room near the grand jury chambers, where Wu Jin would wait until called to testify. Chen arrived with final instructions, a thick folder of evidence, and a confidence that Sansa wished she could share. Remember, Chen said, simple, direct answers. Don't volunteer information they don't ask for. Don't embellish. Just tell the truth about what you witnessed, what you know about Lee's organization. How long will it take? Probably 2 to 3 hours. The grand jury will ask questions, I'll guide the testimony, and then you're done. After that, we'll move you to a new safe house while we process Lee's arrest. Woo, Jin nodded, but Sansa saw his hands trembling slightly. She took them in hers, held tight. You can do this. 2 hours, that's all. 2 hours and then it's over. 2 hours and then I'm officially a rat, a traitor to everything my father stood for. 2 hours and then you're officially free. A man who chose conscience over loyalty to a dying system. Your father might not have understood, but I think your sister would have. I think she'd be proud. His eyes closed. Min Seo. God, I wish she was here. She always knew what to do, what to say. She'd tell you to stop being dramatic and go testify. She'd tell you that people who deal poison deserve prison, and helping put them there isn't betrayal, it's justice. How do you know? Because that's what I'm telling you, and you said I remind you of her. Stubborn, opinionated, unwilling to let you wallow in self-pity. He laughed despite the tension. You do remind me of her. Both of you refuse to let me be anything less than my best self. A marshal appeared at the door. Mr. Beck, grand jury is ready for you. Wu Jin stood, straightened his suit jacket, took a breath. Then he turned to Sansa, pulled her close, kissed her like it might be the last time. I love you. Whatever happens, whatever comes from this, I love you. I love you too. Now go be brave. He walked out, and Sansa was left in the waiting room with 2 federal marshals and Agent Thompson, who'd stayed behind to keep her company. She couldn't sit still, paced the small room, checked her phone compulsively even though there was no one to call, nothing to do but wait. He'll be fine, Thompson said. I've seen dozens of cooperating witnesses testify. He's more prepared than most. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about what happens after. When Lee finds out, when his people start looking for revenge, we'll protect you, both of you. You can't protect everyone all the time forever. Eventually, life has to return to normal. And when it does, we'll still be targets. Thompson didn't have an answer for that, because she was right, and they both knew it. This testimony would mark them permanently, change their lives in ways that could never be fully undone. An hour passed, then another. Sansa's anxiety ratcheted higher with each minute. What was taking so long? Was something going wrong? Were they challenging his testimony, tearing apart his credibility? Finally, the door opened. Wu Jin walked in, looking exhausted but intact. It's done. Sansa launched herself at him, and he caught her, held tight. How did it go? Good, I think. They asked detailed questions about Lee's operations, drug distribution networks, money laundering, specific violent incidents. I answered everything I could. Chen says the grand jury will almost certainly return an indictment. So Lee will be arrested? By tomorrow morning, if everything goes according to plan, federal agents will execute a warrant, take him into custody, seize assets, and then, Wu Jin's voice trailed off. Then the real danger starts, Thompson finished. Once Lee is arrested, his organization will know someone informed. They'll start looking for who. We need to move you to the new safe house immediately. The new safe house was in Orange County, 40 miles south of LA. Bigger than the previous one, with actual rooms instead of just a studio layout, but still sterile, still temporary, still a prison disguised as protection. How long do we have to stay here? Sansa asked as marshals checked the perimeter, installed additional security measures. Until we're confident Lee's organization won't retaliate. Could be weeks, could be longer. Weeks, maybe months. Sansa thought about her job at the diner. She'd have to quit officially. Couldn't maintain even one shift a week from hiding. Her classes, she could continue online, but she'd miss the community college campus where she'd started attending in-person study groups. Her mother, her sister, she could call them, but seeing them would be complicated, dangerous, require elaborate security protocols. This is the cost, she said quietly that night, after the marshals had left them alone. This is what doing the right thing actually costs. Not just danger, but normalcy, freedom, the ability to just exist in the world without constantly looking over our shoulders. Woo! Jin pulled her onto the couch into his arms. I know, and I'm sorry. Sorry that loving me has cost you so much. Don't apologize for things neither of us can control. We made choices together. We knew there would be consequences. I didn't realize how much I'd miss my regular life until I couldn't have it anymore. When this is over, when we're clear and can go back, what's the first thing you want to do? Sansa thought about it. Go to the diner, order pancakes, sit at the counter like a regular customer and just be normal. You? Take you to that Korean restaurant in Koreatown, Mrs. Choi's place. Eat juk and kimchi and talk about nothing important. Just be two people enjoying a meal together without FBI protection or gang threats. That sounds perfect. They stayed up late, talking about the future they'd build once this was over. The community center expansion plans. A possible restaurant partnership with Mrs. Choi. Maybe buying a house. Something with a yard, space to breathe, room for the future they both wanted but were afraid to articulate fully. Kids, maybe. A family built on choice instead of obligation. But underneath the hopeful conversation, fear hummed. Because they both knew. Lee's arrest would trigger a response. His organization wouldn't take this lying down. And no amount of federal protection could guarantee their safety once people started looking for revenge. Lee Jin-ho was arrested Friday morning at 6 a.m. Federal agents raided his home in Palos Verdes, his office in Koreatown, and 3 warehouse facilities connected to his drug operations. The news hit by noon, local stations covering the massive bust, the federal indictment, the allegations of fentanyl distribution and money laundering. Sansa and Jin watched the coverage from the safe house, seeing Lee's face on TV as he was walked in handcuffs. He looked furious, was shouting something in Korean that the news didn't translate, but Jin did, quietly. He's saying someone betrayed him, that he'll find out who and make them pay. He doesn't know it's you yet. Not yet, but he will. These things always come out eventually. Lawyers get discovery, start seeing what evidence exists, make educated guesses about sources. Give it a few days, maybe a week. The waiting was agony. Every hour stretched into eternity. Sansa tried to continue her online classes, but concentration was impossible. Jin worked remotely, managing his legitimate businesses through encrypted communications. But the stress was evident in every tense phone call, every tight-jawed conversation. On Sunday, 3 days after Lee's arrest, Agent Thompson called with news. Lee's lawyer requested discovery materials. They're starting to piece together the information sources. It's only a matter of time before they identify Jin as the primary cooperating witness. How much time? Days, maybe a week at most. We're monitoring chatter from Lee's organization. They're already looking for the informant, offering bounties for information. Bounties? Sansa's stomach turned. How much? $2 million for the informant's identity. Another $1 million for elimination. $3 million. Sansa thought about what people would do for that kind of money. The risks they'd take. The betrayals they'd commit. Even people in Jin's own organization might be tempted. Ji-hoon, Jin said immediately. My lieutenant. He knows everything. If Lee's people approach him, we've already placed protection on your key associates. But Mr. Beck, you need to prepare for the possibility that someone close to you might take the offer. $3 million is life-changing money. My people are loyal. Everyone thinks that until the price gets high enough. The paranoia set in after that. Every phone call could be the one that exposed them. Every person who knew their location was a potential threat. Even the federal marshals guarding them, could they be bought? $3 million would set up their families for life. This is what it feels like, Sansa said on Monday evening, staring out the safe house window at suburban Orange County streets where normal people live normal lives. This is what it feels like to have a price on your head. To know that your existence is worth $3 million to the right buyer? I've lived with that feeling for 8 years, since I took over the organization. There's always been someone willing to pay for my death. How do you stand it? The constant looking over your shoulder, never trusting anyone completely? You get used to it, and you focus on the people who matter, the ones you know, deep in your soul, would never betray you. He came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Like you, I trust you with my life, Sansa. Completely, absolutely, without question. I know. That's why I trust you. Tuesday brought the first real threat. A marshal noticed a car that had driven past the safe house 3 times in 2 hours. Different drivers, but the same vehicle. They immediately evacuated, moved Sansa and Wu Jin to yet another location, this one in Riverside, even further from LA. Was it Lee's people? Sansa asked as they were rushed out the back door into an unmarked vehicle. Don't know yet. Could have been surveillance. Could have been coincidence. But we don't take chances. The new safe house was smaller, more isolated. It felt less like protection and more like prison. Sansa spent Wednesday pacing, unable to settle, feeling the walls close in. This couldn't continue indefinitely. They couldn't spend the rest of their lives running from safe house to safe house, never settling, never stable. I want to talk to Agent Thompson, she told Wu Jin that evening, about exit strategies, about what happens if the threat never decreases, if Lee's organization never gives up. They'll give up eventually. Once enough time passes, once Lee is convicted and imprisoned, the bounty will lose urgency. But what if it doesn't? What if this becomes permanent? Us hiding, them hunting, no resolution. Then we consider witness protection, new identities, new city, starting completely over. Leave LA? Leave my mom, my sister, everything? If that's what survival requires, yes. Sansa felt her world tilt. New identities meant abandoning everyone she loved. Her mother would never see her again. Keisha would lose her sister. She'd become a ghost, a person who used to exist but didn't anymore. I can't do that. I can't disappear from their lives. Even if staying means dying. Even then, Wu, Jin, my family is everything to me. I can hide for weeks, maybe months. But forever? Becoming someone else entirely? That's not survival. That's just a different kind of death. He didn't have an answer. Because she was right, and they both knew it. Witness protection might keep them breathing, but it would destroy everything that made life worth living. Thursday night, a week after Lee's arrest, the situation escalated. Agent Thompson called at midnight, voice tense. We have a credible threat. Lee's lawyer contacted one of your former associates, Kim Dae-young, offering the bounty money. Dae-young declined, but he reported the conversation. Lee's organization definitely knows you're the informant now. Dae-young stayed loyal. He did. Said he'd rather die poor than betray you. But Mr. Beck, not everyone will make the same choice. The information is out there now. We need to consider more extreme protective measures. Like what? Witness protection, full relocation, new identities. It's the only way to guarantee long-term safety. No, Sansa said immediately. We're not doing that. Miss Williams, with respect, your life is in danger. Both of your lives. Then we end the danger. We don't run from it. How do you propose we do that? Sansa looked at Wu Jin, an idea forming. Dangerous, maybe stupid, but possibly the only way forward. We make a deal with Lee. What? Both Thompson and Wu Jin spoke simultaneously. Think about it. Lee wants revenge, but what he really wants is to not spend the rest of his life in prison. What if we offered him something he actually needs? A way to reduce his sentence? A path to eventually getting out, in exchange for calling off the bounty. You want to negotiate with the man trying to kill you? Thompson sounded incredulous. I want to end this without spending the rest of my life in hiding. And Lee is a businessman, right? Criminals are always businessmen underneath. So let's do business. Wu Jin testifies that Lee wasn't directly involved in some of the worst charges. Maybe he didn't personally know about specific fentanyl shipments. Maybe he can claim plausible deniability on some counts. It weakens the case slightly, but gives him hope of a reduced sentence. In exchange, the bounty gets pulled, and we get our lives back. That's witness tampering. That's negotiation. And it's the only way I see this ending without either witness protection or one of us dead. Sansa's voice was firm. Can you arrange a meeting? Controlled, secure, just the four of us. Me, Wu Jin, Lee, and his lawyer? Thompson was quiet for a long moment. This is highly irregular and possibly illegal. But possibly, if Lee agrees to it, if his lawyer thinks there's something to gain. But Miss Williams, you'd be walking into a room with a man who wants you dead, who's offered millions for your death. Are you sure about this? No, but I'm sure that I can't live the rest of my life running. So let's end it, one way or another. It took 3 days to arrange the meeting. Lee's lawyer was intrigued by the possibility of weakening the federal case, and Lee himself, currently held without bail in federal detention, apparently found the audacity of the proposal entertaining enough to agree. The meeting was set for Monday morning in a secure conference room at the federal courthouse. Armed marshals would be present, Lee would be in restraints, everything would be recorded, as safe as such a meeting could possibly be. I don't like this, Wu Jin said Sunday night as they prepared. Walking into a room with Lee, even with security, even with guards, even with you restrained, he's dangerous in ways that can't be fully controlled. We don't have better options. Either we do this and try to negotiate our way out, or we spend months, maybe years in hiding. And Wu Jin, I can't do that. I can't lose my family, my life, everything that makes me who I am. What if he refuses? What if he just wants revenge regardless of the cost? Then we know, and we make different choices from there. But at least we'll have tried. They arrived at the courthouse Monday morning under heavy guard. Multiple federal marshals, armored vehicles, secure routes. Inside, they were taken to a conference room with reinforced glass walls, multiple cameras, and enough security personnel to stop a small army. Lee Jin-ho was already there, hands cuffed to the table, wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of the expensive suits he usually favored. He looked older than his 43 years. Stress and incarceration had aged him, added lines to his face, gray to his hair, but his eyes were sharp, calculating, dangerous. Wu Jin Baek, Lee said in Korean, then switched to English for Sansa's benefit. The rat who destroyed my operation. I'd say it's good to see you, but we both know I'd be lying. Lee. Wu Jin's voice was flat, controlled. We're here to discuss terms. Terms? Lee laughed, harsh and bitter. You testify against me, destroy my organization, put me in federal prison, and now you want to discuss terms? You have interesting audacity. The audacity is mine, Sansa said, drawing Lee's attention. I'm the one who suggested this meeting. I'm the one proposing negotiation. Lee studied her, eyes cold. The black girlfriend, the weakness that made Wu Jin vulnerable. You know, if you'd never existed, none of this would have happened. He'd still be running his organization. I'd still be running mine. And the natural order would be maintained. The natural order that was killing people with poison? That natural order? Business is business. People make choices. If they choose to use fentanyl, that's on them. They choose addiction. They choose overdose. That's a convenient way to avoid responsibility for the 47 deaths directly linked to your supply chain. Lee's expression darkened. You come here to lecture me about morality? You're sleeping with a man who's killed 7 people. Don't pretend you're better than me. I'm not pretending anything. I know exactly who Wu Jin is, what he's done. But the difference is he's trying to change, to be better, to build something legitimate. You're still dealing poison and calling it business. Enough. Lee's lawyer, a thin white man in an expensive suit, cut in. Can we discuss why we're actually here? You mentioned the possibility of reconsidering testimony? Yes, Sansa said. The federal case against Mr. Lee includes dozens of charges. Some are ironclad, financial records, surveillance, direct evidence. But others rely heavily on Wu Jin's testimony about Lee's personal knowledge and involvement. What if that testimony became less certain? You're offering to change his testimony? To commit perjury? Not perjury, honest uncertainty. Wu Jin testifies to what he knows for certain, admits that he doesn't have direct knowledge of Lee's involvement in some specific incidents. It's truthful. He wasn't present for everything, doesn't have first-hand knowledge of every decision Lee made. The lawyer looked interested. Which charges specifically? The personal distribution counts. The allegations that Lee personally oversaw specific fentanyl shipments, personally ordered specific violent acts. Wu Jin can truthfully say he has no direct knowledge of Lee's personal involvement in those incidents. It weakens those charges, potentially reduces the sentence if convicted. In exchange for? The bounty gets pulled, completely, permanently. Lee contacts his organization, tells them the hunt is off, that Wu Jin and I are no longer targets. We get our lives back. He gets a weaker federal case. Everyone wins something. Lee leaned back in his chair, studying them. Interesting proposal. But why would I trust you? Why wouldn't I take this deal, then reinstate the bounty once I'm sentenced? Because, Wu Jin said quietly, if you do that, I'll provide additional testimony. I know things about your organization beyond the current charges. Offshore accounts, political connections, other criminal activities that aren't yet part of this case. Right now, I'm keeping that information to myself. But if you betray this deal, I'll give the FBI everything. And your sentence won't just be longer, it'll be devastating. You're threatening me? I'm establishing mutual assured destruction. We both have leverage. You honor this deal, I honor it. You betray it, I destroy you completely. That's how trust works between people like us. Lee was quiet, clearly thinking. His lawyer leaned over, whispered urgently in his ear. They had a hushed conversation in English, too quiet to hear fully, though Sansa caught fragments. Reduced sentence, 20 years instead of life, better than nothing. Finally, Lee looked up. I want it in writing. A formal agreement, Wu Jin testifies with the specified limitations. I call off the bounty permanently, and if either of us violates the terms, we both lose. Mutual destruction, as you said. Done, Sansa said. Agent Thompson can draft the agreement. We'll all sign it. Make it official. Thompson, who'd been silent in the corner of the room, stepped forward. This is highly unusual and potentially problematic from a prosecutorial standpoint. But if it ends the threat and everyone agrees to the terms, I'll work with the U.S. attorney to draft something acceptable. Lee looked at Sansa with something that might have been respect. You're smart. Smarter than I expected. Wu Jin chose well. I chose her, Wu Jin corrected. And yes, she's extraordinary. Which is why I'm willing to do this. To negotiate with a man I hate. To keep her safe. Love makes us weak, Lee said. But there was something wistful in his voice. I told myself I'd never let that happen. Never care about anyone enough to be vulnerable. And look where that got me, sitting in federal detention with no one who actually cares whether I live or die. That's not weakness, Sansa said quietly. That's just lonely. Lee didn't respond, but something flickered in his eyes. Acknowledgement, maybe, or regret. Then he turned to his lawyer. Draft the agreement, I'll sign it. The agreement took 2 days to finalize. Legal language, precise terms, signatures from everyone involved, including the U.S. attorney overseeing the case. Wu Jin's revised testimony was scheduled for the following week, a second grand jury appearance, where he'd provide more limited testimony, admitting uncertainty about Lee's personal involvement in specific charges. This will probably result in some charges being dropped, Agent Thompson explained as they reviewed the final agreement. Lee will still face serious time, probably 15 to 20 years instead of life, but it's a significant reduction. And we're safe, Sansa asked. Really safe? Lee's already contacted his organization. The bounty is officially withdrawn. We're monitoring communications to verify compliance, but so far everyone in his network has acknowledged the order. You should be safe. Should be isn't the same as will be. No, but it's as close as we can get in this situation. You'll still need to be cautious, aware of your surroundings. But you can return to your lives, go home, see your family, work at the diner. Just be smart about security. They moved back to the penthouse on Friday afternoon, 1 week after the meeting with Lee. Walking into their home after weeks in safe houses felt surreal. Familiar furniture, their belongings, Chairman Meow, who hissed at them for abandoning him, even though Ji-hoon had been feeding him daily. We're home, Sansa said, standing in the living room, feeling the truth of it settle. We're actually home. We're home, Wu Jin confirmed, pulling her close. And Sansa, I'm done. Completely, officially done with everything except legitimate business. My cooperation agreement with the FBI is fulfilled. Lee is handled. The transition is complete. I'm just a businessman now. A boring, legitimate businessman. Boring sounds perfect. They spent the weekend reconnecting with life. Sansa's mother came over, cried, hugged her for 5 full minutes without speaking. Keisha visited, brought Chairman Meow treats, demanded to hear everything that had happened. And on Sunday evening, they went to Rosie's diner. Sansa sat at the counter, the same place she'd sat thousands of times, but it felt different now. She was different. She ordered pancakes. Woojin sat beside her, ordered coffee, and they just existed. Together, normal, safe. "Welcome home, baby girl," Rosie said, setting down their order with tears in her eyes. "Don't you ever disappear on me like that again." "I won't, I promise." "And you," Rosie pointed at Woojin with her spatula, "you better take care of her. She's special." "I know," Woojin said seriously. "I'm reminded of that every single day." They ate in comfortable silence, and Sansa thought about the journey that had brought them here. From the night she'd given him her chicken dinner to this moment, federal testimony, bounty negotiations, weeks in hiding, and finally home. It had been terrifying, exhausting, nearly impossible, but they'd made it, together. 6 months later, Sansa stood in the community center they'd built together, a beautiful space in the heart of Koreatown that served both Korean and Black communities. Job training, language classes, after-school programs, financial literacy workshops. Everything they'd planned was now real. Ms. Williams, a young Black girl, maybe 16, approached nervously. "I just wanted to say thank you. The job training program here helped me get hired at a restaurant downtown. Real money, real opportunity, so thank you." "You earned it," Sansa said, hugging her. "You did the work. We just opened the door." After the girl left, Woojin came up behind Sansa, wrapped his arms around her waist. "You're good at this. Building things, helping people. You should do it full-time." "I am doing it full-time. Business development director, remember? Plus finishing my degree." "I meant bigger, open more centers, expand across LA. Make this your life's work." "Is that your way of proposing a new business venture?" "No," he said quietly. "It's my way of saying I'm proud of you, of us, of what we've built." They stood like that, watching the community center bustle with activity. Korean grandmothers teaching traditional cooking, Black teenagers learning financial planning, immigrant families finding resources, connection, hope. All of it built from the wreckage of a criminal empire. All of it proof that people could change. "Hey," Woojin said, turning her to face him. "I have something for you." He pulled a small box from his pocket, opened it. A ring, simple, elegant, perfect. "Sansa Williams, you gave me your dinner when I was hungry. Then you gave me your heart when I was lost. Then you gave me a reason to become better than I was. Will you give me the rest of your life? Marry me." Tears streamed down Sansa's face. "That's the second proposal I've gotten from you. First one was in a warehouse negotiating with a crime boss. This one is at least more romantic. Is that a yes?" "That's a yes. Obviously yes. Yes to you, yes to us, yes to building this impossible, beautiful life together." He slid the ring onto her finger, and they kissed, surrounded by the community they'd built, the life they'd created, the future they'd fought so hard to reach. In the corner, Mrs. Choi from the Korean restaurant watched with tears in her eyes, signing to one of the Korean elders, "Love like that changes the world." And she was right, because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest transformations. A waitress who gave away her lunch, a criminal who chose redemption, and together they built something that mattered. 6 years later, they'd have 2 children, expand the community centers to 5 locations across LA.